Hello and welcome to the AWOL Altered TCG tournament. Today is Monday, the more EU centric starting time, and we are in week 3. Say hello, wave to us in chat. I am joined by Freeloader here today, and our question 5 minutes from the start is, what do you think of the meta currently, Freeloader, and what do you think we're going to see today?
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. First time on the A.W.O.L stream. So far, the meta is still a little unclear of where it's settling. It's still very much a dynamic meta, in my opinion. There's a lot of dynamics that I really love, though, specifically how hunger has impacted a lot of the decks that had a lot of staying power, specifically like Muna Perma Anchor decks, and also some of the Axiom decks. And then there's a lot of dynamics happening around that where people need to really make some interesting considerations on how to build their deck. It's been really cool. We've seen a ton of heroes already do quite well. Bravos is looking very strong, and I don't think the old guard is out of the game either, right? Afanos is still doing well, so is Fen, and yeah, it's looking like a really cool, super diverse meta at the moment.
Yeah, if I go back and look through the previous 3 weeks, including both Monday and Wednesday, we have had Tasia, Atsadi, Kojo, Navenka, Ben, and Sigusmar all come away with 6-0. So that leaves, I mean, there hasn't been a lot of Afanis high up the last couple weeks, but maybe today we'll see an increase. Maybe today is the day that Basira goes from a 5-1 to a 6-0.
hmm
And I'm wondering if we're going to see a lot of Ghoul today.
Yeah, I mean, Golang's been quite played, right? Have they managed to get 6 now? Sorry, I missed if they got one or not.
No, not yet. At least not in AWOL. Um,
Interesting.
the tournament is full. I can post the link and you can spam it and see if you can get in if there's a last minute drop. But it did fill up. We had people joining and picking up a spot as early as 3 minutes ago. And it looks like there were at least 10 to 20 people that got in as of today, maybe more. But we're 2 minutes out here from a full. We have a full tournament here. We're 2 minutes out from the start. Are there any players that you want to call for a win or at least a 5-1 reloader?
Oh god. I mean, I've really been following Lei Fei recently a good bit. They've been crushing it. So that one is like a pretty easy call to make, but I wonder if I have anything spicy opinions. Mm, I'll be gunning for. It's also not that spicy, but I'll be gunning for Cladius today. Cladius has what used to be a 600 elo demon in the Sigusmar meta, and I reckon he's been able to cook something up now to be able to snipe these tournaments again. So I'm going to be looking out for Cladius today. How about you?
Nice. Well, we hope that Clay doesn't lose the first match and immediately drop out. Hopefully, we see a good hard fight from Altered Aces. I know it's really hard for them to commit when they're on a losing, streak, but really, really rooting for them to be able to have the energy to turn that around. I know that Easy Lopez is just coming off of a win on the Exalt celebration. Um,
True, yeah.
it was a smaller tournament, but hope to see some really cool stuff from Easy Lopez. And let me refresh here. Handy Andy is playing, as Keelan Guy says. both Freeloader and I, more so Freeloader representing AQZ. Hopefully, we see some good stuff there. All of the marbles is also in the tournament again, but he recently took a 6-0 last Wednesday. So gotta root for some other people, but we have tables loading up here. I mean, we can jump into the Cladius game if I can find it. All right, table 26. Oh, perfect game
Oh,
to
the
start with.
mirror, the team battle.
Team battle. Don't worry, you will see the gameplay in a second. Table is not quite loaded up yet. The round just started. If you have any questions, please send them over to the Discord for Simon to answer. If they are a quick question, we will try to answer them on stream. But know that we will be focused on the games. Are you loaded into the table yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
See,
cool.
no, the game. I think Valenzen has yet to connect to the table.
Oh man. All right, let's
Oh no,
find
it just launched. It just launched.
okay, I was like, do we need to find a backup table? I'm getting a different kind of error. Let me try to reopen it.
I think it's because they're still looking at their manning decisions.
Yeah, I have an error that's like bad table number. Maybe I need to refresh my
Bad table. I haven't seen that error before.
Yeah, there we go. All
Yeah, now you
right.
should be in. Yeah.
All right. We're still waiting for art to load so you can see my beautiful chaotic hair and Fen being freeloader being Fen.
There
Uh
we go.
part of the faceless crew of AQZ.
Yeah,
Pa-
maybe one day I'll get a camera, but for now, no camera.
Andy says that he is playing Ghoul Ring. So
Oh, hey, maybe we'll get our first goal rank 6-0. We'll have to check that out later as we are watching a Sigusmar versus a Tasia, which is really a battle of the ages. Been around for a long time. This is looking like quite a spicy Tasia list already, as we see early mana channeling come out on day one.
ooh, there's a lot of different things that Tasia can ramp to right now. Trying to think, I went up against someone that did something like this recently, and I think I actually saw some of the like Cone Man coming out and things like that. So that is very interesting. It
Mm.
in general does also lead to a Hydra. I feel like Hydra is such a scary play right now, especially in a tournament, but not against Sigismar. It's kind of
Yeah,
safe.
Hydra's really weird because I've currently am having a ton of experience with Hydra from the Auroch side of things, which is obviously even more dubious since you don't even have that tough clause. But it's like it either wins you the game on its own, it feels like, or you're going up into a hunger and it doesn't do anything at all. You just lose. So definitely a bit of an odd one in that sense.
Yeah. If I am playing Tasia, seeing this right here, the play of the monolith, but me still being equal with Sigismar, that looks very good. This is one of the other things that you will see a Tasia ramp to is the Leshy, and
Hmm.
the rare version is gigantic. I don't think the common is gigantic, right?
No, the common is not.
I need to take a drink of water because my voice keeps
The
catching in
common is
my throat.
also a little bit bigger naturally, which is nice, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's this Mana Chang turn one into Leshy turn two is very powerful, especially if the opponent here, Cladius, got two forest advancements as well. So that is a pretty huge play, but will be denied on this turn three with the license withdrawal removal. License withdrawal is another one of these new cards that's just been looking phenomenal. I think we see it played in every Ortus deck so far.
Yeah,
At least two copies.
yeah. Earlier when I said that Hydra isn't too risky against Sigismar, I didn't think about license withdrawal. That is a very scary card, even with
Mhm.
Hydras. And as you said, we just saw it obliterate that turn from Tasia, getting rid of the Leshy.
Yeah, and here is actually a pretty spicy card from Cladius' side. This designer drone is not something I think a lot of people are expecting to see. There's a little bit of synergy clearly with cards like Monolith or the Bastion, where you can make them a bit cheaper, but it's still cool to see this. I wonder how many landmarks Cladius is running to try and make this worthwhile.
Yeah. Are we going to see another monolith come out, or is it going to be
And it just
any
might be. Oh, here's what they're ramping into. They're ramping into Grand Bois
Let's
from Cladius'
go.
side. How do you feel about that one, Cole?
I appreciate it. I have not put together my own Grand Bois deck yet, surprisingly. Even though Grand Bois is for some reason close to my heart, I just keep playing around with silly shit instead. So very cool, but now very gone.
Yeah, I got immediately discarded, and I think that is part of the reason why this license withdrawal is so strong. It's not just send to reserve, it's a full discard, so that Grand Bois isn't getting played again. And all it did was 4 mana, draw the Sigusmar a card here, which is really not what you want to see. That being said, Asia is still up in mana, which is quite a good thing for them, but they are down this Ordis Bastion in play. That's potentially a ton of stats to contend with. It's going to be really tricky here.
Yeah, this is where I don't want to be as Tasia, because even with 9 mana, oh fuck. Yep, there it is. Even with 9 mana, you have to get rid of this grand endeavor now. You don't have a choice. And that's gonna cost you 5 mana at
Mm,
least. I don't think there's anything that would remove it for less, unless I'm forgetting a card.
I mean, there are certain rare slots you could run to remove it for 4 mana, but yeah, you're not contesting with this Foundry mechanic then on the companion side, and it's just too much pressure. We see the GG come out. No way for the Lenzen to close the gap here. And we will see Cladius around for round 2, at least.
At least.
My prediction stays alive.
Yeah, this here, your best case scenario if you're Tasia to get rid of that grind endeavor is if you have a unique that specifically gets rid of landmarks. Because otherwise, with the tough, it's just so hard in Muna to get rid of that without also losing to an Ortis double move, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Grand Endeavor definitely a weaker card than it used to be, but Cladius showing here it's still perfectly viable. It's just still a very powerful effect to get a 6 cost spell once per turn for free, even with that big initial investment. So definitely making it work here. GG's to Cladius, and I think that was quite a fast game, so I'm sure we'll have time to jump into another one as well here in round 1.
Yeah, yeah. Let me know if there's anything you see since I picked the first one. On the Endeavor play, I don't know how well it works against all factions, but I know specifically how Gladius played it right there is just crushing to Muna.
Mhm.
Played it on a turn where it wouldn't have even mattered if he lost both lanes, and now it's just gonna sit there and continue to advance no matter what. Um, very, very hard for Tasia to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the tables, and I am considering maybe table. Hold on, what am I considering? Maybe table 37.
All right, let's take a look here.
Nitrok versus Booba 9.
Booba, is that how you're gonna say that?
Yes, sir.
I would say Bubba 9, but
Bubba.
it is closer country wise to you, so I will defer to how you would pronounce that in your part of the world?
He's riding the German flag, and I'm just gonna go with in German, if you say Bube, that is boy. So
Ah, okay. The
we'll
more
go
you
with that.
know. The more you know. Yeah. We would say Bubba here in America, and it would be a name of most commonly a dude with a large gut. But
Oh.
Booba Booba is boobs in America. So
There you go.
uh, but well, we love the international aspect of Altered. We saw a Requiem come out though. Tell me why I am wrong for not liking this card.
You don't like Requiem?
No, and I think it's super easy for me to look at it after we just saw license withdrawal and compare it to license for only one mana difference. Just like look at how different they are.
I
Like
mean,
it's ridiculous because this is
but
discard
Cole,
fleeting character with hand cost 4 or less. License withdrawal is boosted, but it has no limitation. And then what's the second line of text on license withdrawal?
the second text is to discard a permanent.
Yes, and no requirement whatsoever. So
Yeah,
I
but
guess it's
one
just
mana,
hard to quantify.
2 cost to free cost is a 50% cost differential, which is really insane. So there is a huge difference between 2 and 3 mana still. And the other thing is, Cole, weren't you the guy that was all of Beyond the Gates complaining about Muna not having a 2 cost removal, but only 3 cost removal options? I
Mm,
think you were even complaining all it through Trial by Frost. And now you finally get a 2 cost removal and you don't even like it?
no, I'm the guy that classically doesn't run enough removal, and that is my like small hole in my armor, so to say. Um,
Small hole in your arm.
my my complaint was always there weren't enough characters that were good that were not 3 mana. And I think we have solved that a little more in Whispers. So
Yeah, there are some neat new options. That is true. Which one is your favorite? Since you're a Muna player, what's your favorite card of the new Whispers from the Maze cards that you've been playing with?
well, probably Grand Bois. You should look up the card reveal for Grand Bois. Very well done, all things considered. That the card was leaked, and the creator had to rush it out very quickly.
Hmm. Yeah, the
Mechanically,
creator did a great job on that one there.
mechanically, I don't know yet. I don't think I'm decided. I've been spending this week playing Navenka. And the week before I was playing Eros in Muna, so I haven't really taken a dive. I would say probably it would end up being Floor. I think I'm Floor's biggest fan and advocator. So
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, that is a neat card. But in this game, this Rin, despite all of these new Muna cards, they're running Cuddly Corgi, Little Mouse, Requiem, but still behind multiple expeditions here. It's looking a bit rough. Sven is just replaying unique after unique and really attacking this Rin's resources with it with a pretty neat Tinkerbell
yeah,
that
this
has the arrow
double.
sabotage. Yeah.
Yep, I think they also brought it back to hand, so it's hypothetically more than just double sabotage. They picked it back up with Inkcaster while we were talking, maybe, but it's had to have sabotaged at least 3 times by now, which I think for Rin is really crushing.
Yeah, it is quite devastating to play in this, and we do see Bubba or Booba just surrendering here, not even playing out a card, and Nitrok will take the win on Fen. Yeah, Fen's
Yeah,
still looking really strong to me, but I do like we're seeing a bit more diversity in Fen lists now.
yeah. I'm surprised we're not seeing more Fen at a numbers like wise, more players on Fen. I think that is pretty common though. A lot of people seem to have a hard time understanding how Fen can be good, at least from me looking on the outside. I'm just going to jump to table 23 because I show
Mhm.
it's at 57%. Tank Ready versus Matt Mont 7. Oh, look at this. Atsadi versus Kojo. And the Atsadi is pretty well in the lead. What is this little gold card we have here?
This is a Sakuraba, and it's sitting on its best friend, the Eat Me Energy Bar. Sakuraba might just be the hungriest snacker in all of Altered. And this one is a unique as well to boot. It has the normal Sakuraba effect from hands, so your opponent's expedition facingly moves backwards one reason. But it also has at dusk put the top card of your deck into your mana zone. So this one ramps while comboing, which is a pretty devastating combo. They're also already ahead. I think I am spying a Sakurabu in their discard pile already, alongside
Yep.
another Eat Me Energy bar, which has me thinking that this poor Kojo player has been knocked back a total of 4 full expeditions this game already, which is quite brutal as they are completely running out of cards here in this late game.
Yeah, this I have to say, out of all things in all of Altered, I think the Sakura Brew chocolate bar combo has to be the one that feels the worst. Robin Hood, I didn't think felt too terrible, but understand why it needed to be changed. Small step at certain points feels terrible, but not 100% of the time. This combo 100% of the time feels awful, and we didn't see it as often
Oh,
because chocolate bar didn't exist at one point, and Atsadi really didn't have a ton of support before that, but now I've seen it a lot more. Um,
yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm very surprised by that actually, because to me, I find Sakurabu like it's one of the combos you have the easiest time, like, you really see it coming. They play this Eat Me Energy Bar a turn ahead, and you're like, "I wonder what's coming there." They can prep for it quite well, in my opinion. And then if you really don't wanna deal with it, you can just remove the Eat Me Energy Bar before it happens. And even then, if they do get off the combo, most of the time you're just double advancing into it anyway, so I don't know. To me, it's definitely not the most annoying combo. I felt like the issues with cards like Robin Hood and Small Step Giant Leap was that there was nothing you could do about them. And I don't think that's the case for Sakuraba, but yeah,
yeah.
I have seen people get very frustrated at it for sure.
Yeah, I think since I mainly play Muna, there is not as much permanent removal, and these conversations are just leading everyone to scream at me, "Add Requiem to your deck," because right now I only run Lost in the Woods. So, in a perfect world,
Mm.
if I have one in my hand, which if I pull one early on, I'm almost always keeping it as long as I can. Then I can get rid of a chocolate bar and it's not as bad. But man, when you're like crushing a game and you can't remove it and you just get moved back to it feels awful. I'm not calling
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
a ban or anything. I'm just saying
No,
it's one of
I
the
can
worst
definitely see
feeling
that.
things.
I can definitely see that. And here we come to another new card that also potentially feels bad to a ton of people, which is the Hunger. Man, I love this card. It's the first like true sweeper effect in this game, and it's such a good one. It's so strong. I love that it is shaking up the meta and that you can't just commit to the board anymore and keep things around forever. So I love Hunger. I think it's great for the game, and it will be enough to double advance here, really taxing Kojo's resources. So few cards left. Meanwhile, tank ready on the Atsadi, so much gas in the tank.
Yeah, I think besides Duel of Grit, the Hunger is the most expensive card on the altered marketplace, if you don't consider the adventure pass rewards and alt arts, hero promos, things like that. Duel of Grit and the Hunger are $7 for the Hunger about, and a little over
Damn,
$9 for Duel of Grit.
that's quite a bit for a rare.
Yeah, maybe I should sell two of my Duel of Grits while they're high, and I won't be playing Bravos for a bit, so I'll get them back eventually.
That's fair. That's fair. You do tend to open a fair couple of packs during the season, though probably less so for yourself and more so for whoever wins the ace tournaments or AWOLs or whatsoever.
Yeah. One of the good things I've started doing with the prize rewards is setting them in a very specific pile as like dead cards. And I, of course, offer them out to anyone whenever I can. Like, hey, if you bought a card digitally, I have a copy I can just bring you. So I think
Mm.
there might be a hunger in there. So yeah, it's if you're a tournament organizer and you give away cards, definitely think about doing that instead of throwing away the scanned cards because much quicker than print on demand. But we see Atsadi take it there with at least, yeah, four pushbacks, which if you count, if there were not those pushbacks, the Kojo would have won. Um, pretty normal Kojo list. That Ozma that came out with the From Anywhere Sabotage and drawing a card at dusk if it has a boost.
Mhm. Yeah, that one looks
Pretty
strong as well.
pretty good. I'm also a hater of the mess and the farm, so everyone can tell me why I'm wrong about those ones.
You're really putting a target on yourself, huh?
I gotta. All right. Anything that's lower percentage that's jumping out to you?
Uh, I mean, table 9 is pretty low percent, only at 57, quite late into the round. I
All
wonder
right.
what is going on there.
Shout out to Chili taking his first round and Psychos getting a free win. And all of the marbles also one game up.
Big. I
And
wanted to check how Void was doing as well. Hold on. Because I think Void was playing in this. I don't think their game's completed yet.
yeah, Void should be using my unique cloth dancer today. I would assume in Fen.
Is it I mean, I guess it's a Lyra cloth dancer then, not a Muna one.
Yep.
Is it the one that gives everything fleeting?
Yeah, it's I think the only reason that Runefolk doesn't like it is because the one he uses self sleeps.
Mm,
And this one doesn't. This one is if you discard something from your reserve, you can sabotage from anywhere, and then at dusk give target players characters fleeting.
I see. Alright, in this table 9 though, Sigusmar against Lindy Way. Lindy Way is giving up the expedition equity here, but did at least manage to get stick a Moth Lantern into play, which might get them a bit of an advantage into this next turn. We had an Ozma unique in the last game. We have one in this game as well that has the token condition on an arrow to draw a card, so double draw Ozma. And from reserve, it also creates an Ordis Recruit token in each expedition, so it creates two total, as we're about to see here.
Yeah, so if you were not playing this in Sigismar, it would self-satisfy from reserve. And yeah, drawing a card for 3 mana and also having stats is very good. Notably, it only has the Sigismar up by one currently. This is a much different list than we saw with Claudius. There's a Silas in the discard uh,
Ooh.
for this Siggy, and no landmarks currently.
Yeah, I've seen Silas occasionally in the Sigismar lists as a kind of Baba Yaga replacement, since These decks do like altered decks in general just function so well when you have access to a ton of mana. And sticking to that theme with the stylus, I think, is definitely one of a couple of ways to play Sigusmar at the moment, to be honest. We see it going, but oh man, this hand for Lindy Way was horrendous on his final turn. Yeah, a little bit of card draw goes a long way. You see the difference here. Just not having the right cards at the end will lead to another double advance for Sigusmar to take it all.
Yep. I would say me and Keelan and I are probably both a little disappointed with Lindaway's performance so far. I'm not sure if the lack of specific support has made her lag behind, because she wasn't bad in Trial by Frost, but we just have not seen the splash out from Linda Way yet during this season.
Yeah, honestly, it's interesting because I've seen a ton of 5-in-1s from Lindy Way. We saw quite a couple in the NUC, at various NUC events actually, and I think we saw quite a couple well-performing Lindy Ways as well in the AQZ series. Not sure about AWOL 100% yet. Haven't checked all the results there. But the hero is definitely very potent, but seems to have a bit of trouble closing out these events. Just maybe a little bit too inconsistent or not quite enough staying power.
Yeah. I jumped over to the COVID 87 table to see why it was a little lower on the percentage completion as well. That's table 34.
Mhm.
And it's because we see a Golang here, I'm assuming. Maybe a little bit of control and another slightly different Sigismar list.
Wait, this is a really sick Golang list though. It's playing Baba's Izba, Moth Lantern, and Gift of Self. That is a crazy list. So it's a sacrifice Golang list where we see a ton of mana moths in play already as a result of that. That's a pretty interesting take on Golang for
Yeah.
COVID 87.
I've always kind of wanted to make a moth goring work, because moths are a token, which means Golang will give them a bonus. So it's very, very nice to see here. 5 mana to 4 mana. Golang is currently moving one. Siggy is moving one. Ooh, that license withdrawal though. It all comes down to what two cards Golang has.
Yeah, and that license withdrawal just sitting in reserve at any moment can snipe one of these mana moths to kind of guarantee a trade at least. Well, not quite guarantee, but there's a pretty decent chance of it going that result. And that's going to be a bit tough for Gorang to overcome. Gorang very short on cards here. It's always interesting seeing Sigismar, which I think in the minds of most people is a very aggressive hero, just be absolutely loaded on cards at 11 mana even. Oh yeah, there it is. Sandman. They might even be pushing for win on this very turn.
All
No,
right.
they are self-sleeping. Okay, so they're going for a trade on this turn.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna keep creating tokens with this rune scribe, so might as well.
Yep. Yeah, interesting choice of playing Sandman into the Hero Expedition there, as they are still losing on that side, and they're quite a ways off of potentially winning there. This does open up the chance for Golrang to try and contest this companion side and maybe snipe a double advance right after the Sigismar self sleeps their pretty well statted unique at this point.
Yeah, so they're gonna rally and call to unsleep it, but there's still one card here for Goring. Um, I ooh, a conscription. Can't you? He can't pick diff. Ah, that'll work. Oh well, no, because we're still tied on the companion.
Well, that will work to get an expedition lead though, right? If they hit that unique that just got unslept. But
Yeah.
this will get Golrang an expedition lead.
I
They
was
can
trying
trade
to
this time. They're in it.
quickly see if there was some crazy way Goring could pull out the win with one card, but I don't think there was potential. So
I
I
mean, it
mean,
would
a
have had to
Sandman.
be yeah, it would have had to be a Sandman or something of the like of their own. A body plus a sleep effect, most likely, or removal effect, maybe a unique.
Very interesting that neither player has any landmarks. More interesting so that Goring doesn't. There is a Mescatet in the discard, so maybe that was part of the plan.
Mm,
But that's gonna have Siggy going up one recruit going into this game, and Goring is stuck on double type regions on both sides.
yeah, single type regions are a bit tough. The cards in reserve for Golang are looking pretty good for these regions at least. But my real worry for Golang is can they even spend all of their 11 mana this turn? Since their reserve is costing 4, that leaves them 7 more mana to spend across the 2 cards in their hand. So if they don't have any draw effects, then they might just be cooked here, as Pandy would say.
But will they be actually cooked or the kind of cooked that Pandy says?
Well, that's the question, right? Because when Pandy says they're cooked, they somehow always find a win. But this Golang is probably looking a bit more genuinely cooked to me. These forest stats for Sigusmar are doing a pretty bad job of defending the hero side, which is definitely something. Oh no, Messek for Gorang is not what you want to see here. I mean, it
Yeah.
might be okay if he can somehow squeeze into the extra time here, or the arena battle. Well, I said I was a bit worried for spending mana on Gorang. They did perfectly spend their mana. They didn't get a ton of efficiency out of that mana. Let's take a look at this Bumblebee before I speak too much on
Ooh,
that
I
matter.
think it has a charge on it, is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, you may sacrifice a character. If you do, each character entire expedition gains 1 boost. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it might actually be enough to get them to the arena here, which is more than they could have hoped for, I guess. And with a Mesecta out there, now actually starting their arena turn with 4/4/4 in stats, which at this point in the game isn't all too much, but it's better than nothing. And all of a sudden, their position is looking playable at least. Sigismar used a lot of cards as well on that turn, so card advantage not nearly being nearly as devastating as it just was.
Yeah. If I'm doing my math correctly, well, no, I think the forest stat was still too low. But one of the things you can do with this Templar is you could have scouted it to create a token and then just replayed it, and you would have gotten a token in the arena here. But there's nothing to boost the token, so I think one token for the Siggy wouldn't have done enough to stop Goring. Um,
Yeah, they were really behind on the forest stats because they had cards like Sandman out, and yeah, they were not competing much on the forest side of things. They're unique as well, being a 1/3/3 statted card.
all right, I'm also getting word from the wire that Void lost their first game and has decided to not continue with the tournament. So one AQZ member down. Handy
No.
just let us know that he has won. So he is the hopes, the dreams, the spirit.
Oh, that's good. Oh, Moth Lantern does come out. It doesn't create all that many stats here. Functionally +1/+1/+1 in stats. But wow, Golrang is still up on 2 of the expeditions, and now Sigismar can play a card from reserve, but that creates a token for Golrang, which will actually just equalize out the advantage Sigma very, very temporarily got. And it will be a Golrang win. I did
Yep.
not expect that ending here
Yep.
with them being so low on cards.
Gorang just won by one forest.
Yep.
So very nice. What was it the unique? No, what was creating tokens?
The staff
Oh,
clerk.
the staff clerk. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they put Sigusmar in a bit of a bind since they had an Ordis attorney in reserve, but that Ordis attorney doesn't really do anything since they play it out, and both players get a 2/2/2 body.
Oh, well, table 15 is already showing progress for me, and it is Ed Ensor versus AA Tackfire. I
In round
am
2, yeah.
I'm very calm. Why can't I speak normal English today? I have gone up against Ed in just arena so many times. Uh and I probably almost always lose, I would bet. But we'll get loaded into this game. I saw that Leith Faye was also in a game, but we'll probably see them a little later as well.
Yep.
They did win the first game. Ooh, nice to see Overloss name on there also take a win.
Mhm.
Notably, always Gulring, I believe. So
I think so as well, right? That was our quintessential uh all-round player since forever. Yeah, I mean, I just love seeing a lot of these new heroes getting some life injected into them.
yeah, it's
Although,
been super interesting. I think both you and I, when we were planning to have a little of a meta discussion before, we're both kind of in the same boat where like I don't know if it's figured out in any way yet. And I think that's part of it is there's just a lot of variety and it's pretty diverse right now.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure for especially for the well, I actually think there's another dynamic at work there as well because I think so far in Trial by Frost or up to Trial by Frost, there were a couple of decks. There was like one in each hero for the most part that was just substantially better than anything else you could be doing.
Yeah.
And because of that, everyone was only playing those 6 or 7 decks that were kind of playable with a very few outliers. But now I have the feeling, even if the meta settles and the top players decide, hey, maybe Golang is still completely unplayable, I think the difference is smaller. And if you are just a fan of Golang, then you're completely fine to just keep playing Golang because you can win on that character at the moment, even if it might not be the best character still, right? So I think that dynamic adds a lot as well to the feeling of how the meta is doing, since you will just see more people play what they want to be playing.
Amen. You should always just play what you want to play, even if your win rate ends up at under 20%. It's worth it to stay true to who you are.
Spoken like someone who has a win rate under 20%.
No, I haven't checked it in a couple days, but after my Navenka games, I would assume it still is.
Oh no. Well, you heard it here first. Do not fear a 20% win rate. You're not alone. Alright, but in this game, to maybe focus on the game just a tiny bit, Fen into Afanos, this is a bit of a classic matchup that we know and love. Definitely some new cards injected in it. This Lyre Contortionist I've seen in all kinds of Fen deck lists, and my hot take at the moment is I don't think that the Lyre Contortionist actually belongs in as many Fen lists as I've seen it. There's definitely a place for it, but it's not the best stat wise for its 2 cost. So unless you are abusing its reserve ability, there's a ton of better cards to run.
Yeah, it is a very interesting balance with Fen where you do want an increased reserve, but this hypothetically doesn't increase your reserve. It just allows it to not count. Whereas Tech Lab might just be a better option. I know a lot of people run both,
Hmm.
but I think I agree. Stat wise, I'm not sure if the contortionist is worth how it works in the reserve. It was very well suited for the companion expedition that we had, but it still did not provide a advancement for Finn.
That's true. It didn't provide an advancement, but it did allow Fen to get an a cappella training on this category mage dancer without giving up two advancements. Which I mean, given how cheap a cappella training is, that is more of an a cappella training upside than the Lyre contortionist upside there. But it is good for Fen to immediately get rid of this mage dancer so it doesn't get replayed from reserve, as it is just that scary of a card. But if I'm a Afanos in this position, I'm not sweating it. I've got 5 cards in hand and plenty of things to work with as well, I have to assume. Rime Frost here will lock down Fen's reserve a little bit, which is always a bit of a it can be really good, but also sometimes Fen just picks up whatever card just got exhausted and proceeds to play, completely ignoring any kind of exhaust effect whatsoever. So it's a risky move into Fen, but looks so far as if it is working out for them.
Yeah, I think in this situation, if you're the Fen, you were looking to save this Paper Herald for maybe keeping an Aloe around. So picking it back up, well, not anymore. Picking it back up was probably the best option. Oof. Yeah, this is going to be
Oh,
a rough
brutal.
turn. And Void actually said that wasn't sure if Aloe is any good against Afanis, and maybe that's very true right here.
Yeah, it's very risky, especially now Afanas has so many removal options, and I mean not all of them actually hit the aloe vera. This evanescence from reserve, I mean from reserve it can hit the aloe vera for sure, but it is very expensive as well, so it's not that devastating if it does happen, and it's also you can see it coming since it is just sitting in that reserve. Meanwhile, off you go. Obviously, it trades 2 mana into 4 mana into an aloe vera. It's such a great trade and will leave Afanas here with not only a double advancement advantage, but also a Spindle Harvester lingering in play with a very good number of stats on it as well. So, very tricky spot for Fen quite early into this game already.
Yeah, there's still a lot of resources Afanis hasn't used. Only one off you go, only one Tooth Fairy, one Mage Dancer. There are two magical trainings in discard, but already the card advantage from being Fen versus Afanis, they are matched. Runefolk, hello Runefolk, says Ed Ensor might also be part of AA, so this could be another team match.
Oh, is that so? I'm not sure on that, but yeah, might be. I have trouble following who's on what team unless they have their team icon in front of
Yeah,
their names. I can track all the AQZ members even without the AQZ tag, but other than that, I'm completely lost on the team side of things. And the card advantage is not stopping for Afanas here, playing out a Baba Yaga. It's actually kind of a funny dynamic. It feels like every card Afanas plays has the words draw card on them, but then meanwhile, every card Afanas plays is also getting hit by an acapella training by Fen, which is leading to it being like somewhat even in terms of card advantage.
yeah. It's gotta not feel great to use it on a Baba Yaga, but it is still decent stats when you play it from reserve. I don't know specifically what the Fen's goal is based on this deck, but seeing the acapella training come out and then not have much to follow it up with is pretty rough because this 2 mana here could very easily be a double advancement for a Faunus. Maybe discarding this Paper Herald keeps it away. Ooh, what do we got here?
If there, so it's a Moth Larva unique. If there are 2 or more exhausted cards in reserve, target character other than me gains 1 boost, which is, I assume, not the reason this is being played. It also has, when I leave the expedition zone, you may return a spell from your reserve to your hand. which is probably more of the reason why this is being played. Will secure 1 for 1 advancement, so no hard punish, which would have been a 2 cost removal card of any kind, but still very good for the Afanos, staying in this expedition lead situation. Picking up a 2 cost removal is going to be very nice for them. And yeah, they just need to ride it out here. A couple more turns of trading expeditions, and they are in there. And they have a ton of cards in hand to make it work.
This is runes moth. Is that what you're saying? Giving cards to the enemy, man. If you didn't know, I'm campaigning for a AQZ against AA rivalry. Disclaimer: it's all in good fun, but on stream, it's not. It's serious.
Serious business. No, you'll have to convince the other folks of that.
Don't worry,
I'll have
I'm
the
working on
energy to
it.
go to war with anybody.
We need some good rivalries to hype up the scene.
I see. I got you. I got you. What about this Mighty Jin versus Moth Larva rivalry happening on the companion side of things?
I'm catching up with the Studious Disciple. That's a from anywhere. The next spell you play this afternoon costs one less. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure this Mighty Jin is going to stay there.
Wait,
Uh,
that's a 6 Studious Disciple. That's like a 1/0 cost, pretty much.
yeah.
And it does immediately get fleeting, just in case anyone was worried about the status there.
Oh, that's gonna be a free beauty sleep on the Mighty Jin.
Yeah, that should be GG as well. Beauty sleeping at Mighty Jin is such a strong move, and just being behind on both expeditions with a mana disadvantage for Fen here is going to be brutal. The paper herald does come out, and it will sleep the moth larva, but any character plus spell here, or any spell that creates a character, is a win for the Afanos in this situation.
Yeah,
And
we
even if
know.
not, they can just get another 1/0 expedition lead.
Yep. Oh, that might be what they're going for. We know the other, well, one of the cards in hand is that Evanescence. But yeah, sleeping the Mighty Jin, like you said, is much better than removing it. Because if you are newer and watching, it just is able to do its ability anyway it leaves the expedition zone. So putting it to sleep means it doesn't leave and thus cannot be converted into mana.
In this case, actually sleeping it is not the worst thing for Fen, since at least Afanos didn't advance on the companion side. So this Mightygen is still contesting on those defensive statistics as well. Often the issue is when your Mightygen gets slept is the opponent advances on that side, and then that Mightygen is no longer defending a certain expedition if they get to move on a water expedition, for example. And then it just feels horrendous since that is half of the job of the card is to prevent your opponent from advancing. And when the card doesn't do that anymore, it becomes really clunky really fast. And
Yep.
this will be a final push for Fen to somehow not lose on this day.
Ooh, this Hathor is a Anansi.
Oh, you're right. It just isn't a Nanzi. It's a bit worse than a Nanzi in the sense that it has worse stats and costs more from reserve than a Nanzi does.
Yeah.
But still a Nanzi, which Nanzis are quite strong.
Ooh, the
License
license
withdrawal is a
withdrawal.
great counter, though.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this Mighty Jin is very good to be sitting here. It has the stat in Mountain for Fen, and it has the stat in Forest for blocking Afanis. They are out of resources now, though, and all it takes is, yeah, them just playing a Mage Dancer to the uninhabited Hero Expedition.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, not much you can do in that situation. This Afanos just had the resources to fight past all of those a cappella trainings. I mean, it looked a bit like a one-sided match here for the Afanas, but honestly, this Fen gameplay was quite strong. Usually, if you're playing into this many a cappella trainings, you would really struggle to maintain your resources, but in this case, Afanas just had too many draw effects and could overcome it while getting the expedition lead. So good on them. GG's to the Tacky Fire or Tack Fire win from Team Altered Aces. And with
Nice.
that, I think we can go into another game.
Yeah, I'm seeing table 9 is under 50%, and it is AJT Horse against KRA Psychos.
Hmm.
Because Caballo means horse. Thank
There you
you,
go.
Chili, for telling me that, I think, last week. And also, you're welcome, everyone, for your word of the day.
That does explain their profile image.
Yeah. I'm hearing in the chat that Pandy got cooked. Does that mean he won or?
I
Ooh,
believe that means they lost. Condolences to Pandy Andy.
ooh, look at this rune scribe chilling in reserve here. This is pretty nice.
Let me take a look. It's a free cost, free one free. If you control a token, sabotage. When another non-token character joins expedition, if you control token, resupply. Oh, so we're looking at one of these resupply Sigusmar lists. These are really strong. These can really keep the engine going for Sigusmar. And often these lists will play cards like the Easy Talk as well at common, just because it has that discard ability to draw a card. And if you resupply into it, then your resupply becomes a draw, which is obviously really strong. Not surprised to see it alongside an Ordis Accountant as well. Sleeping these uniques is very strong. People also used to play Scrooge with these uniques just so they could sleep them even longer. I wonder if that's going to be part of the tech here or not, as we see another unique come out as well.
Yeah, so two uniques kind of just hit. The Snowman is unfortunate for Kojo as Kojo's first player, so has Buddha. Sigismar always has the Ortis recruit, and the main action of this Snowman is if I'm the only character in my expedition, draw a card, but it does have the otherwise resupply. Draws what? Oh, how did they what?
Well,
Oh, in
it's only
my
its own. It's
expedition.
only it only cares about
Yeah.
its own expedition,
Okay.
not the
Yep.
opponent's side.
So they did draw a card from that, and then Sigismars is when a non-token joins your expeditions. If you control 3 or more characters, create a recruit token in target expedition, and now a third unique, which
Oh
is
my
a
god!
Dracana that gains anchored, and at noon, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do sabotage.
Well, this is quite the unique turn, you could say. A lot of interesting effects happening here, a lot of overlap on them as well. I just want to double check this rune scribe. It does say when a non-token character joins, you resupply. I'm not sure if those exist, where it's if any character joins resupply. Of course, that would go really hard with a token spammer. But as is, this is still going to be a really strong combo. And there's a ton of options here, right? For Sigismar, especially with this Ordis accountant in reserve, you could commit to self-sleeping your own Kakoba. You could try and go for a double advance by sleeping probably the opposing snowman. There's a lot of options here. Which one will they go for? They will indeed try and sleep the opposing snowman. So going for a double advance here and then maybe a single advance next turn to close out the game. And the 2 mana each, but having significant stat advantage on both sides. This will be very tricky for Kojo to equalize unless they have, I don't even know, maybe an intimidate. No, intimidate wouldn't even be good enough. Yeah, they need a crazy strong card here to guarantee an advancement of any kind. What they do have is Duel of Grit to get rid of this Kokoba unique that will force another play from Sigusmar, which actually only one card left in hand. They might not have it, but they have. Of course, they have it. Who am I kidding?
Two accountants just chilling next to each other.
Yeah, this accountant card is really strong. I think it was the only card from Sigismar that I was considering giving a 5-star rating, just because I mean Snowman at rare sees a ton of play in Sigismar already, and this accountant is basically a Sandman. Sorry, Sandman at rare sees a ton of play in Sigismar already. This Orders account is basically a Sandman at common, which is incredibly strong. So not surprised at all that it is seeing a ton of play. Super strong card.
In
I
this
wouldn't
Siggy
sleep on it.
in this Siggy list, there's also the Ortis Crier, which is kind of a very perfect card to resupply with that Rune Scribe unique. It's the rare, so when you play it from reserve, if you spend a boost, you get to ready 2 mana orbs. So it's cool. I wouldn't say it's incredibly strong by any means. It just means you can play it from hand and from reserve for 1 mana, basically. But
Yeah, it's like a 1 mana 1/1/1 from hand and a 1 mana 2/2/2 from reserve, which is strong. I just can't tell if that's worth a rare slot or not.
yeah, I think for them with certain Siggy uniques, it kind of makes sense. Like this Kokoba, just non-token coming out, and it's going to create more tokens from the unique.
Yeah, nah, it's going to be good here. Immediate sabotage, of course, at noon from that Dracana will, of course, hit the unique monolith rune scribe, as this value it provides would just be too strong at this point in the game where both players are a little bit low on resources. The real issue for Kojo here is they can't allow a single advance to happen from Sigismar. And that is just going to be really difficult to do considering there is an Ordis accountant in reserve for Sigismar.
Yeah, that snowman is a prime target for getting slept again. Cutting off that resource of drawing a card, or if you absolutely have to, resupplying is very good. Sleeping the Dracana, probably not as great of an option, but could be done if you're going to win the game right after.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's an interesting decision here as well, again for Sigismar, in that do they try and win the turn at the game this turn, or do they go for it next turn? I think any later than that is probably too late. Going for like an arena win against the setup that Kojo has brewing seems pretty risky. But yeah, they have good tools now, but with this after you play in the form of Haven from Kojo, they are forced to commit their resource pretty early, and you can see here they don't think they can get a relevant enough sleep off to guarantee an advancement. So instead, we will see this be a setup turn for Sigismar, and they will play the Monolith instead.
Yeah, that double Haven is going to be really strong for Kojo on this turn. Um, let's see. They are going to be they're gonna overload their reserve just by 1 now. I was waiting to see if they were gonna play the Pathfinder just for funsies, but you can decide which cards you're going to get rid of instead, and they get rid of the Dracana.
Yeah, probably just a bit of a too expensive, too clunky play. To be fair, Snowman is also a little bit expensive and clunky in this situation, but valuing that card draw does make some amount of sense to me. They do also have a mana advantage, so maybe they can still make use of that. It's going to be tough though. And you see this removal in reserve. Depending on cards in Sigismar's hand, a lot of these extra stats that Kojo is getting from this double haven setup are just going to be completely negated on a turn of Caballo's choosing. But of course, it's not easy for Caballo either. They have limited resources here and are fighting into a strong setup with a severe mana disadvantage.
Yep.
from Sigusmar's perspective.
Probably why they're taking a little longer to decide if they're going to mana or not. The one of the bigger downsides to that snowman is it is 4 mana and its strongest stat is nowhere on the expedition for Kojo or Siggy. So it's not a good block in that regard and not a good advancement, but Havens go burr.
Yep, Havens go burr indeed, but they are now 2 mana down. I think this type of turn, it's all about mana from Kojo's perspective, right? Kojo knows exactly how many plays Sigismar has, and they are waiting until they can have perfect information. Oh, they are not waiting till they have perfect information. They're going to use this first play from Sigismar to deploy a sabotage effect in the form of Orda Spy, which will hinder the Sigismar plan too much on this turn. It is the one big disadvantage of Ordis Accountant in comparison to the Sandman is it's being a from reserve ability. You lose the surprise effect and you do open it up to sabotage effects and the like. And that will be too much interaction to overcome here for Sigismar. Kojo will easily be able to take a double advance and win this game.
Yep. Resources are a hell of a drug. And Kojo is there's a good joke there, but I'll just stop and say congrats to Psychos for the win. I think Psychos has been moving around a little more recently. Um, Once upon a time, they used to play a lot of Traced when Traced was hot,
Hmm.
and then a little bit of Tasia for a while and Sigismar, and now trying out the Kojo. So I wonder if they're doing some heavy testing for the world qualifiers. I believe Psychos will be at the Canadian qualifier and the one in Baltimore.
Ooh.
So I can help you stalk people if that is something you wish for.
All right. Kohlrabi the stalker. Don't know if you want to
uh,
be putting that one out there, but
Yeah. No, I just people ask me too many questions, so I know too many things. Table 20
honestly,
though is 57%,
fair enough. Yeah, let's head on over there.
and honestly,
Fanos into Golang. Very nice. And now we do see a double Mesectet set up as well on the Golang side of things. Actually, in a bit of an awkward spot as they have an expedition lead. So those Mesectets aren't going to be fully triggering at the start of the turn here.
yeah. What do you see from this Afanos here? What do you what's going on? It looks
Hmm.
kind of, unbalanced.
It looks a little unbalanced, you think?
Yeah,
Well, I
a little.
see. I see 12 mana, which indicates a fairly long game. I see a lack of a discard pile, which either means the Siphanos has been playing very conservatively or they have reshuffled their deck at this point. And I see how many is that? That's 9 cards in hand, I think,
Yep.
which indicates that they have in fact been playing cards in order to draw more cards. So yeah, definitely looking balanced what the Afanas is doing here. If you can, I mean these Afana setups, I do still think Afanas likely just has the strongest late game of any deck in altered. So if you can't win before they get there, you might just be cooked. And yeah, that is I think what we're looking at here. Unique Spindle Harvester coming out as well. It has the when I go to a reserve from the expedition zone, if I have 2 or more boosts, you may return a card other than me from your reserve to your hand. Phenomenal, of course, in combination with quite a lot of cards. Notably, this one doesn't need to pick up a spell, so you could return your category and mage dancers or other uniques to hand, for example. I mean, they have all these cards, but they do still also have quite a lot of stats to make up for on both sides of the expedition here, actually.
Yeah,
And
this game is absolutely a battle of the uniques because this paper herald here is when another non-token character joins your expeditions, create two soldier recruit tokens in my expedition. And when we were just barely loading up the game, Wesh had a unique that I caught a glimpse of before they reshuffled the discard. I'm pretty sure it was a double draw card of some sorts. I don't know if we'll have
mm,
time to see it come out again, but maybe.
hey,
Uh,
maybe.
there's a lot of disruption that Afanos can put out with 4 mana and 6 cards still. There is a conscription for Golang as well if they want to use it, and they will.
Yeah, just one more token. Gonna make the math just ever so slightly harder for Afadas here. Man, there's so many stats in play here, which I mean, it makes sense. The players are at 11 and 12 mana respectively. If Afanas can get the double advance here, I mean they are for sure winning this game. I'm sure they can stop at least one side here. Probably the hero side is the easier one to stop. And then they are still very much alive in this game just because they have access to so many cards. But yeah, I mean it's gonna be close here still, since Golang does just have such a incredible ability to make stats appear out of nowhere.
Yep, this studious disciple coming into reserve after playing sleight of hand, boosting up both mage dancers and giving an Afanis boost, I think is going to come pretty close to doing it because we're going to see the magical training or something could still come from hand for 1 less mana.
Yeah, the discount from the Studious Disciple will definitely be enough. This isn't quite a double advance, or it's not a 2-0 for Afanos, but a 2-1 is also likely already going to be enough. They're not quite able to stop the companion side here, but shouldn't matter. They're going to be drawing a ton more cards because of that or rare mage dancer setup they have. And they are also retaining quite a lot of stats into their next turn on the Spindle Harvester unique they have. And with this many cards in hand, it's going to be really tricky for Golang to find a angle to win this game.
Yeah, notably, they will get one Mescatet trigger. They had one Ordis recruit come out from, I don't know, a Templar or something. Yeah, the Templar. It was so
Yep.
squished, I wasn't quite certain. Um, yeah, this could hypothetically go certain ways, but more so in Afanis's favor unless Wesh runs out of time. Because there is currently about just under 4 minutes of buffer left in this game.
There you go. You're completely right. I think the only way Wesh loses this game is through time. No sabotage effect to remove the unique from Golang immediately, but they do have a removal for it, so no tokens will be spawned from there. Which means all Alex Kidd can do is play out their cards, create as many stats as they can, and see if Wesh runs out of time. Because frankly, I don't think Wesh is going to unable to be double advancing this turn.
Let's see here. This Alchemist returns a spell from your reserve. And from reserve, it's you may discard a card from your reserve. Oh, hold up. We can read that later. We just see an Atlas hitting the table.
Yeah, this Atlas is enormous. It's a 6 cost unique. Tokens you control are gigantic, as I believe every Ordis Atlas has. It has the arrow ability. If you control 4 or more characters you control gain a boost. So hypercharging the board here. As I said, they have created a huge stat block on both sides of the expedition. 15, 16, 16 on the hero side, 9, 9, 9 on the companion side. And still, I have no worries here for Afanos. They have enough removal to hit multiple of these tokens, gaining boosts all the way on not only one category major dancer, not only two category major dancers, but also, of course, on the Afanos hero ability as well, with every spell they play. So no worries here, but there we go. They ran out of time before they could do
Oh.
it.
So remember, kids, I said around 4 minutes. That was 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So GG's. Wesh loses it to time. That was getting very, very interesting. That double mage dancer setup, the freaking putting another studious disciple in reserve, just cycling things around was very disgusting for Afanis, but gotta watch your time.
Yeah, time is the enemy here. I mean, it is like it's always a tricky debate to have, right? Since each player has 15 minutes, and if you can't win in that 15 minutes, you are using your opponent's time at that point. So, is it unfair? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on your perspective. But definitely the way BGA works, this game will be a win for Alex Kidd and will propel us into the next round as well. And it's just up to players to be wary of the time phenomena on BGA.
I see a craft in a table that has started, but is there anything else you've noticed you want to go in?
Acraft sounds like a great game to watch. Acraft is uh, propelled to a bit to be the a figure for the Bravos faction. Has done a ton of work on Basira, I believe. So let's go ahead and watch that game.
For those asking in chat if it was a move too slow, so the other thing that you have to take into consideration when you're playing the game now, due to the new end of round rules, is even if Wesh was able to get enough stats to secure the win before running out of time, with the amount of things in the expeditions, spells being played around, you do have to quickly discard down before the game actually finishes. In a perfect world, BGA could be coded to not end the tournament, you know, at that moment when someone has already won. That is not currently the case, though. So always remember that. They're still too long didn't read. Wesh just was too far under the clock to really know for certain.
Absolutely. But going into this game, we have Sigusmar into Kojo. It's another classic matchup. And this is a very interesting one, actually quite different from a lot of the other matchups because both of these decks have a ton of firing power right out of the gates. So often, whoever can get this early lead is just in a very solid position. Of course, Sigismar threatens to pretty much always take a double advance. Kojo usually threatens it mostly on their Buddha turns. And first turn was a Buddha turn, but Kojo was unable to get a double advance, so now it should be Sigismar's turn to potentially strike back, especially after getting an additional token from their Aegis Templar on turn 1.
Ooh, and the Ortis Spy coming out to get rid of that Haven that was set up, also very good. I'm gonna go try to find my other glasses again real quick. So I'll leave you in charge of this for a moment and also ask you the greatest debate. Is Sigismar having a single recruit that's 1/1/1 every turn stronger than Kojo having a 2/2/2 every other turn, and tell the people why whatever way is what.
All right, cool. I see. I mean, I know you're baiting me into this. I've had this conversation quite a couple of times, or this rant, however you want to see it. Of course, Sigismar's hero ability is way stronger than Kojo's. There is a couple things going on. Yes, the stats are equal that they provide across 2 turns, an average of 111 stats a turn. However, Sigusmar has quite a lot of things going for it. For one, it's creating those stats on split bodies across 2 expeditions, right? 1 expedition per turn, but that is 2 separate expeditions in the game itself, which is advantageous. It makes your removal stronger, it makes your opponent's removal weaker, and it allows you to play for more variety of things as well. Then, meanwhile, also it's just very reliable always having a token rather than sometimes having a token. So you can build your deck around it a bit more as well. Meanwhile, Buddha appears on the first turn whenever Kojo is going first. So it's just a weaker situation to get an advantage in, because in Altered, it is when you are the player going second that you have the greater advantage naturally. So if Buddha came out when it was Kojo going second, they would be able to capitalize on that advantage so much more often than they do already now when it comes out when they're going first. So another thing that Sigismar is going there, even if they're going second, they're getting that 111 token and they can convert that advantage even easier than they otherwise could. Third and final point, uniques in the Ordis faction, almost all of the conditions synergize so well with getting this one token every turn for free. Meanwhile, Kojo does not get that liberty on their uniques to have those free synergy on uniques. So on my account, Kojo significantly weaker hero ability than Sigismar. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk and welcome back, Kohlrabi.
Yes, I found my glasses. They fell under my bed. It wasn't bait. The better question to bait you would have been Afanos versus Siggy and which one is stronger. But I've been cognizant of the fact that there are new players that some of their first entrance into competitive or learning how the game is played are these AWOL broadcasts or the VODs for the different tournaments. So very well said. I'm sure someone, well, I mean, chat already appreciates it, but I'm sure someone down the road will also appreciate it. And maybe we will do the actual bait question a little later of is Afanis's hero ability stronger than Siggy's?
Mm.
Um, I know Keelan guys answer off the top of my head, but I don't know if you feel the same. But in this game, that Alchemist from hand created a token and has from anywhere for 2 mana, by the way, that you can sleep something and give it boosts.
Yeah, that is quite strong. It's an extra Sandman functionally, and it has a couple other upsides going along with it as well from hand. The fact that it makes another Ordis token as well. Man, the Sandman effect is just so flexible in Sigismar, partially for the reason we were just talking about, or I was ranting about, being this 111 token. It's just a body, and you can put it to sleep and give it 2 boosts at such a low cost. Whereas in other characters, like in the home faction, Lyra, the Sandman, you first need to create a target of your own to gain that extra bit of utility. Meanwhile, in Sigismar, you just have it, right? And as I'm talking about this first category in Alchemist effect, the second category in Alchemist comes out, which is a 4 cost, 2 cost, 2/2/2. It has from hand, if you control 3 or more characters, draw 2 cards. That is a ton of cards for fairly cheap still. Also has a static ability whenever another non-token character joins your expedition, up to 1 target character gains fleeting. They can play a very hard resource battle with this unique. And yeah, just getting their cards in hand up there already.
Yeah, that is very nice. Also, the fleeting. Is it non-token? It is non-token at least, but the from hand ability is not non-token. And another tasty little tidbit. It counts itself. So all you
Hmm.
need are these 2 characters here and itself to qualify for that 3 or more characters to draw those 2 cards.
That
Um,
that is true. And the big downside here for Sigusmar is they gave up an expedition here while playing all that setup on their previous turn. Yes, they do get to start this turn at quite an advantage with 4/4/4 in stats in play already to only the 2/2/2 of Buddha, but it is up to Sigusmar here to make something happen. So let's see if they can do it.
Yep. Kelon Guy asks the question, if Sigismar's hero ability is so much better, why are Siggy and Kojo performing equally? I would say that's actually not true. I think Siggy, by the numbers, is still performing just a little bit better. As to
Oh,
why he's not crushing, I'm sure that was a bait question and you know the answer.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure by numbers who's doing better, but I feel like I've been seeing a ton of Bravos results at the moment. And that does make sense to me because although Sigismar has the better hero ability, I think the Bravos faction just has the best rares and commons in the game by quite a bit, just on average power level. Not the literal strongest rare, which would probably be something like Katagarin Mage Dancer or Orbo's Inkcaster, but just their commons and rares on average are so strong that they get to really play the game on that front.
Yeah, I was quickly scrolling through the hero results on 39 cards. Sigismar is by far one of the heroes with the absolute most in just sheer results, with almost twice as many as Kojo. But even just looking at placements, I don't think we've had a 6-0 from Kojo for quite a while. Of course, there's been a good handful of 5-1s or 4-1s. But if the ultimate performance is 6-0, Siggy is still winning in that regard.
I mean, I think both heroes have had a couple 6-0s so far in the Whispers from the Maze meta,
All
but
right,
yeah, definitely a
Dave.
couple. There's also 5-0 by Leifei.
5-0. I thought it was 5-1. Am I blind? I might be
That
blind.
was the AQZ one, which those are only 5 rounds.
Five and Runefolk though has the stats. Siggy 57% win rate to Kojo 52% win rate in
Ooh.
AQZ plus AWOL tourneys so far.
All right, fair enough. You got me. You got me.
But then Keelan guy says 57 Kojo results versus 43 Siggy since June. You guys have more time in the chat to sit and count. So uh and then Bandy just comes out of left field. Kojo should just get suspended.
I need my Kojo. Once I'm done with my Auroch arc, where am I gonna go?
Why don't we just get rid of Ortis as a faction and everyone will be happy?
True, except there are quite a couple of Ortus enjoyers. I still
On
don't
the
understand the people that Simon and Blue. Well, Blue less so because Blue is primary. Actually, is Blue's favorite faction Ortus? It has to be, right? His name is
Yep,
Blue.
yep.
What I really don't understand is the people whose second favorite faction is Ortus. That does not make any sense to me.
They're just, they want to pay attention to this game instead of disparage a group of players. So very, I mean, like, not a very interesting game, but also an interesting game because we just saw a Tooth Fairy played for an advancement and get no benefit from the sabotage. A rare, well, never mind. I was about to say something stupid. So we'll just say,
A rare Tooth Fairy.
yeah. Well, no, I was gonna say a rare Ortis spy is interesting to see, but then I remembered, oh yeah, it's out of faction. Of course, it's
Yeah,
rare.
yeah. It is. It
Uh,
is an out of faction.
but yeah, neck and neck, same exact terrain here. Looking at it, just at board level, Kojo does have an advantage in resources. Also,
Mhm.
it is a Buddha turn, so it'll be very interesting to see what Siggy plays. One removal in discard already for Siggy with the license withdrawal, so there
Oh,
could be
big
there.
Orda Spy coming out here.
Yeah, there's a good one to get rid of.
Yeah, that is crucial. Otherwise, it was going to be a bit tough going into, even if you survive this turn, going into next turn. And as I say that, there is immediately a Haven into resupply, just another Sarengar. So it's going to be tough either way with that card advantage, unless we see another Orda Spy come out. But I highly doubt it. And definitely tricky here. I mean, both players are in okay spot. Sigusmar is by no means out of cards in this situation, but they do need to see if they can survive this turn. They don't need to prevent or they don't only need to make sure they're advancing on one side. They also need to prevent the double advance here for Kojo, which would have been potentially a bit more of a threat had the Serengar gone to the companion expedition. It actually makes me wonder if there's another Serengar in hand for Kojo.
Yeah, the really interesting thing about the Sigismar playing this Legat over on the companion side is it's not currently blocking. So with two cards in hand, can you, if you're wanting to, block the companion side while also getting two more water or more? Is this going to go to arena, or do one of these players have a way out?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky for Flaviar here on the Sigismar at the moment. In the ideal world, they get to win the hero side, like, assuming they don't just win both expeditions here with something like a Sandman. In the ideal world, they would win on the hero side and lose on the companion side, and then sabotage the final card away from Akraft on the Kojo. But that is probably going to be pretty tough considering they're already 2 stat points behind Kojo. They don't know what their final card is. They're going to be carefully considering their options here, as it they can go for a very high risk maneuver here, but they just might need to go for a high risk maneuver to win this game, since Kojo with a Haven now on that final turn can be very strong.
Yeah, just looking at it from revealed information, I'm calling the last card in hand for the Kojo as a Fire Rabbit.
Fire Rabbit. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. That would be a tough one for Kojo to make work. They would kind of need to hope that what they have at the moment is enough already, if that was the case. Since you really don't want to be giving your Fire Rabbit fleeting here if you can't help it. And if it wins you the game, you're going to do it, of course. But otherwise, you really want to make sure you have a card in reserve for next turn.
Now, don't give us spoilers, Acraft. I was gonna say Ortis Spy, but then I was like, you know what? That's not as spicy. Let's go with the Fire Rabbit.
Also, if there was an Ori to Spy, I'm sure it would have been played earlier in this turn to get rid of the Monolith Legate.
Yeah, there's just not much else that's good. That
Oh, there's the Sandman. So a craft needs something decent at least. And even then, it's likely going to get sabotaged away by this Monolith Legate. Actually, not that likely. If they have 2 or more water stats, they can safely play it on the hero side and keep it for next turn. Fire Rabbit, I mean, we know that it isn't it,
ooh,
but oh, that's kind of brutal actually. Because Duel of Grit, while securing the trade on this turn, won't be a card in reserve next turn. Akraft will only have, well, 3 cards to work with because of this Haven Sarengar draw, but that is not a whole lot. Sigismar will have significantly more potentially. Depends on their mana situation.
the Buddha does get to stay around though. My guess was wholly based off of what we had already seen in discard, and I was not expecting a Sarengar because they're already all out. but Duel of Grit was not in the discard yet. So very, very good card to have. And
Yeah,
this Sandman won't sleep. The Sword of Spy won't do anything. But we'll see here what's going on.
yeah. I mean, 5 cards for Sigusmar, nothing put into mana is definitely suspect of quite a couple cheap cards hanging out in Sigusmar's hand. Potentially also just keeping extra cards in case there's a sabotage effect coming out from a craft. That is not a sabotage. That is a mess, which is a complete blank of a card on this final day situation, which is one of the big downsides of this mess card, is that it doesn't do anything the turn you draw it. And often in these late game scenarios, when it's do or die, you really need your cards to do something. And I'm seeing you grin from ear to ear because of your earlier claim that the mess is not a great card.
Listen, it was just reminding me of a conversation I was having in my own head. Because a lot of the time we do see Siggy take it here with just sheer stats. There was a fire rabbit that came out. Yeah, just a
Yeah,
very
that was pretty much
unfortunate mix
as
of
bad of a
cards.
draw
Yeah,
that Aircraft could get there. The
yeah.
mess plus 2/1 costs.
Unfortunate, but hopefully we see a craft, a craft, however you pronounce it, continue, do the reverse sweep as I say. But no, I was thinking when I drive, I'm usually thinking about different decks and things like that. And I was going over my Navenka deck in my head and thinking if the Lyra Bastion was at all worth. And I was just thinking that exact thing where if I'm gonna be playing the Wayfarer and the Bastion, those are two things that hypothetically won't give me a benefit the turn that I play them unless, my Navenka ability or something turns out really well.
Yeah.
And I think that just in the end, that's why I don't think I'll ever play both in a deck. Uh, and I have never really liked the Lyra Bastion anyways in general.
Well, I have, but not in Lyra. It is an
Yeah,
active
yeah,
card after all.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Table-wise, the lowest percentage I see is 41.
41? Wait, where are you seeing a 41 table? I'm not seeing a 41 table.
Do I need to refresh or do you need to refresh?
Well, I think you need to refresh. I'm seeing a 57. That's table 41. Or did you mean table 41 is the lowest percent?
Table 41.
I thought you were saying the lowest table is at 41%. My bad, my
No,
bad.
no. Oh, it's one of these. Oh, but this Kojo is seemingly hanging in there really well. Double the mess and a
Oh.
hunger.
Yeah, so this is yeah, like Mess is a good card if you get it early. And that looks like that is what has been happening this game. I mean, Kojo, one expedition lead, does have a great setup with these really, really charged messes. Actually, they're just going to continue to charge forever, it feels like. Also, getting back a little bit of that mana advantage, which is very much in Atsadi's favor, though. And that will be the attempt of the comeback mechanism here for Bajoulian. Just having significantly more mana and a Eat Me Energy bar out in play could make it tough for Goupil to actually contest the scenario here, board.
Yeah,
But we shall see.
so this brings up a good question that I pose to all Kojo players. If you're playing the hunger, which situationally I think we've all decided is a pretty good card, and the market has decided it's a very good card. It has, when played from reserve, it's gigantic. Most people are not really playing around that or considering it because it's only a 3/3/3. But what if you had double Haven instead of double the mess?
Well, I mean, it's good, kind of. But the big issue, I think, with that line is that when you first play Hunger from hand, you are removing all of your own landmarks, which
Ooh,
means you no
true.
longer have any havens around to give your Hunger boosts from reserve then when it has fleeting to be gigantic.
You keep them in hand until after the hunger, and you play 2 at once.
Okay, yeah.
There you
Uh,
go.
well, that is that would be a line. That would be a line. But I think you'd be a little bit tight on cards
Yeah.
to make that happen consistently.
It does make sense, to have the mess with a hunger deck now because you probably don't mind getting rid of them as much. We came into this game a little late, but I wonder what it looked like when the hunger was played. Because as you mentioned, there's 2 of the mess here, and they had gotten up to a decent amount of counters.
Yeah, I actually wonder as well. There's in this matchup, I think, especially as a Kojo player, if you are playing the Hunger, it's a bit awkward since you're usually going to be down on mana to an Atsadi. And then if you don't have any after you effects before you play your Hunger, you're really opening yourself up to, for example, Theseus coming out from Atsadi, for example, and opposing Hunger and just kind of ruining your day that way. So I'm guessing it probably ate an Eat Me energy bar, maybe after the Sakurabu came out, or maybe even before it. Not 100% sure on that. But just making sure to deny the combo that way seems like the most intuitive way of using it.
Yeah, that is a pretty good counter to chocolate bar. Looking at the discard for Kojo, there's not very much in there, so I'm assuming we can't check the mana. I'm assuming a lot of the other cards have gone into mana. Um, and then there weren't any landmarks played before the hunger on Kojo's side, and really not even much in the discard for Atsadi either. So both sides just ramping and playing the big thing here and there.
Yeah, I really do wonder as well how many like tiny gens and mighty gens and other such cards were played, but we just don't have a record of since they are in the mana zone.
Yeah. Are so in the comprehend I mean, this is a question that I should know the answer to. Um, I can't remember. I'm gonna pull it up because this might be something that would be actually beneficial for us to submit as a suggestion. I can't remember if the mana zone is open information. How BGA is coded would mean that it's not.
Yeah, only you get to look at it on BGA. And yeah, I mean, as you're looking that up, this Atsadi immediately making use of that mana advantage and the Eat Me Energy bar to take a double advance from Kojo, and now it is Kojo that is quite significantly behind. They will draw a card from this Mighty Jin, so cards galore for both players here. No one running out of those anytime soon. Still a slight mana advantage for Atsadi. It is slowly dwindling due to Kojo's own ramp style cards. And there are also these charged messes on Kojo's side. But yeah, the cards they play from reserve aren't necessarily stronger than the ones they play from hand. So at this point, how much do those even matter?
Yep. And yeah, confirmed the mana zone is not a open zone. It's what they consider a personal visible zone.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense. That does
you
make sense.
can look at your own mana, but you cannot look at other players. I was trying to think if it would be beneficial to submit a suggestion to the BGA devs to, when spectating, allow you to look at the mana, but that would be a major issue unless tables were always private in tournaments, unless a spectator role was given, yada yada. So
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that that is likely something they can't really do. Yeah, here actually, I really like this from Atsadi. They're having a little bit of an off turn and they're using it to get the Sakurabu combo out there to maybe reset the situation for them a little bit and find a better opening to double advance, they likely have accepted the fact that they aren't double advancing on this turn, but still forcing Kojo to use resources on this turn to try and stay alive.
Yeah, this
Yeah, I
is
think if the
rough.
mana zone was open information, like just imagine playing in real life and your opponent starts picking up your mana card. That sounds pretty horrendous, to be honest.
Yeah, it is interesting because the discard is open information, and the I think, technically the mana zone isn't hidden information, but it's only you can only look at the face down cards if you are the person that owns them, is the way it's explained. But yeah, this Kojo seemingly was doing pretty well, and that Sakurabru just kind of tore it apart. Right now, blocking on both sides though, and Atsadi has passed. So
Atsadi has passed, yeah. I mean, as I said, I think this was the expected outcome for Atsadi, and they are just looking for a slightly better angle to potentially double advance, since they had a bit of an awkward reserve and hand, and this way they get to establish the Eat Me Energy bar kind of for free by playing the Sakuraba alongside it. And now next turn they get to try and capitalize on having this Eat Me Energy bar advantage in play. Meanwhile, I swear, last turn both players had like 6 cards in hand, and now we're down to 1 for Atsadi and 2 for Kojo. Kojo's reserve is completely overflowed.
yeah.
So it's quite an interesting development. Usually on your off turns, this kind of stuff doesn't happen quite that much. But yeah, really valuing getting back into the same position for the Kojo player and using a lot of resources to do so.
So one thing I will say, as chat is kind of debating the mana thing, is you personally can look at your mana at any time, and you can choose to unexhaust one to exhaust a different one. I'm pretty sure. And a lot of people think that what you put in mana never comes back around. It's technically not true though. There is a card that has you discard a mana orb, and then hypothetically you could reshuffle that. But we have about 3 minutes left in this game, and one person is negative over a minute.
That is true. And honestly, that person also hitting the Skadi exhaust here onto Sakurabu, all of a sudden, this Atsadi actually has basically no cards left to work with. So much mana, but 1 card from reserve, 1 card in hand is all they get, which I think means Kojo runs away with this one. That huge card advantage coming in clutch, potentially.
There's still, yeah, there's so much available. The the gigantic hunger. Ooh, what do we got here?
Oh, that's I know it doesn't draw a card from the hero ability because the hero ability is already too far advanced.
Unfortunate.
And
And
it
then it gets
will get
Duel of
Duel
Grit.
of Gridded. Yeah, nothing to
Oh,
worry about here for Kojo. They will secure this double advance, even through the Sakurabu combo. Sadi not finding the cards they need here. So that will be a win for Kojo.
nice. That was a very, very nice comeback of the Kojo being oppressed by the demon Sakurabru. Uh, Also, people chanting to vote kick in chat. You might need to go to YouTube, search general BGA tournament quick guide, and maybe you'll find a video that breaks it down. It does not automatically kick them, so it's actually not very useful.
It does put the pressure on them, though.
It does put the pressure, but as long as they keep making moves, that clock will continuously be refreshed until they hit the time limit. There's basically only one table that has barely any game left, so we'll come over here and let Freeloader tell us some more interesting things. I mean, we got a minute now. So Afanos or Siggy, which one has the better hero ability?
So this one is a lot harder to compare than Sigusmar to Kojo because Sigusmar and Kojo are directly comparable. Afanos and Sigusmar do two very fundamentally different things, right? One of them provides a ton of stats potentially. Meanwhile, the other one provides a body, but a relatively small body. I think the insurance against removal from Sigismar's side is really nice, and having removal as a weakness, which is one of Afanos' weaknesses, it's a pretty significant weakness to have. Removal is always good in card games, and Altered is no exception. I think personally I would give a slight favor to the Afanos hero ability just because it is so easy to trigger and it just does provide so many stats. Like the Sigismar hero ability reads you have a massive advantage on the first couple turns of the game. The Afanos hero ability reads no other hero in the game can outscale you, pretty much no matter what. It's just creates so much play for that hero. And I am a bit of an enjoyer of scaling things, although I haven't played all that much Afanos yet. So I do like that insurance. I think it allows you to build your deck a lot more aggressively towards just getting to the late game. And yeah, Afanos has great tools for that. So I'll give a slight favor to the Afanos hero ability.
Ooh, I think that puts you at odds with Keelan guy,
It sure does.
unless he's changed his opinion. I'm pretty sure he's very adamant that the fact that Siggy always has a body is the strongest hero ability in the game.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't think the difference is very big between the two heroes, but and having a body out always is super super significant. I just think that the infinite scaling nature of the Afanas hero ability is what really does it for me. It just gets better and better with every turn going into the game.
All right. We do have round four, and I was just about to say I keep picking tables. Do you want to? But then I saw table six, so I'm gonna click on table six.
That
Uh,
works. All right,
yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Next turn, next table you pick though.
Surely, surely,
But we
surely.
have to give. Wait, never mind. You can pick. Genetics not playing Fen. We can't give love to them as Fen now.
Oh, we can give it off to them as Kojo.
Fine. All right. I was gonna say I heard somewhere Genetic wasn't quite feeling the love, so just want to say Genetic is my favorite Kojo player and is currently winning against Afanis.
Mhm. Yeah, they have that Earl Expedition lead really crucial in this matchup. I was just spent a bunch of time talking about how Afanis has the strongest late game in this game, and the way you prevent that from being relevant is by ending the game before you get there. So we will see Genetic try their best to do that. I have heard that Genetic, of course, known for Fen. Fen is their try hard deck. It's their best deck, and when they're really trying, they do go for it. But apparently, it gives them a bit too much of a headache if they play only Fen. So not quite on the wee wee tier there, and they need a break sometimes. And when they're on their break, they're playing Kojo, and that is what we are going to be witnessing here. And evidently, it's not that just because they're on their break from thinking doesn't mean that they play badly. They're still very much a phenomenal player here in the top bracket, I suppose, of the AWOL Monday,
Yeah, this is a
putting a
very
ton
good
of pressure on.
turn. Get the tiny gin from reserve to boost and block that companion side. Unless the Afanis gets rid of this studious disciple, there's not too much he could do. But there is the ever-present beauty sleep from Bob Burton. Not a name I recognize. And also I feel like we don't see the UK flag very often. So shout out to the UK if you are from there, in there, around there. Let us know. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube as well, because we're very close to 500. And the
Ooh.
studious. Oh, interesting. It was the beauty sleep, but it was played for 0. So maybe there's another thing coming out here from the Afanos.
Yeah, there might just be. It's a bit hard to imagine what often you would imagine a studious disciple coming out in this situation, but that isn't the case. We see a unique come out, but this unique has no force stats, so it won't actually advance for the Afanas. These Afanas players, they're too used to having all the stats all the time. They do get to return their beauty sleep to hand, which is of course very strong. We would all take a 1 mana removal and then some. But yeah, it's gonna equalize the expedition. No, it doesn't quite equalize the expeditions. So actually, this keeps genetic solidly ahead and gives them the Buddha body, just not in the form of a Buddha, but in the form of a Chiron for this turn, which is quite solid as well. Oh god, Keelon guy is cooking a list that he wants to show me.
Uh-oh. I have no idea. I have no idea what it could be because Keelan guy is retired and we haven't got to see too much from him lately. So could be anything. Could be a Rin list.
Maybe it's a Ren list. I have my doubts now. Keelon guy does play some pretty strong lists, and I'm not quite seeing the angle for Ren, but maybe that's specifically why they want to show it to me. So who knows?
Yeah, this game is looking really good for Kojo though. Gonna have double Sarengar going into the reserve. And
Yeah.
as of right now, also making a double aggression, getting rid of that trooper since it's at dusk. Oh well, it won't be double Sarengar
Nah,
anymore.
it
It'll
won't
be
even be a
one.
single actually with this beauty sleep coming out.
It'll just be one Sarengar in the reserve to draw a card after.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is like the genetic is maintaining some kind of onboard advantage from these beauty sleeps. But Bob Burton, that's a good name, by the way. Though not American and having Burton in your name is interesting. Either way, Bob Burton doing a very good job here at kind of stalling out the game. Right, no advancements happening on a day is really good for Afanas, as they do get to just scale and make more use out of their resources as the game goes on. The thing that's a bit worrying here is that Afanas is a little bit low on cards. Of course, Kojo's as well, but Kojo functions a lot better off of having few cards than Afanas does. And only a common mage dancer coming out won't solve that issue. You still there, Cole?
Gotta, yeah, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Sometimes it's okay to sit in the silence.
That is true.
Double duel of grit already coming out for the Kojo here though. Um, my bad habit is that I, for some reason, like to continue to answer things on Discord, make sure everything's taken care of while I'm streaming. Blame the ADHD, maybe, possibly, but yeah, I'm taking in everything here. Yep, beauty sleep.
Does that already equalize here? It's actually not enough, right? They can beauty sleep the Haven Sarengar on the Hero expedition to not give that expedition. But I don't think there's anything they can sleep on the companion side to actually stop Genetic from advancing there and trade 1 for 1. So yeah, it's getting really tight here for Bob Burton. While they are delaying the game, they aren't creating enough of an advantage for themselves in the form of card draw that Afanas needs to function. It is getting a bit tight here.
Yeah, I think Or okay, interesting. I was gonna say I think sleeping the Sarengar in the hero expedition is a good move because it will keep Kojo having less resources. Not expected to see them sleep their own mage dancer. If this was the rare, possibly could have been a good move, but now in my eyes, it's just another really good target for removal. And I doubt the only removal in this deck from Kojo is Duel of Grit, but maybe.
I mean, it is true that it is a target for removal, but it was going to be a target for removal anyway. I think what this actually does for the Afanos player is it kind of blocks one expedition on its own for 0 mana going into the next turn, and that is going to be quite strong for them, especially as this Haven Sarengar will be forced to put on the hero side for Kojo, where it isn't providing any force stats. Of course, it isn't really providing any force stats in the companion expedition either, but that was a 50-50 for Afanos. And this allows Afanos to fight a bit better on this day than they otherwise would have. But yeah, it's getting close. Genetic only needing a single double advance, still fairly early into the game to
Ooh,
win it, is definitely a scary situation.
very interesting setup here. 2 mana has a very good card for either side in the Pathfinder, but only enough to really lock down one side. Um, if trying to think if they had, yeah, I don't think that would matter. If they had two fire rabbits, the one in reserve and one in hand, still about the same amount of stats though. And
Yeah, it is roughly the same still. It would be nice to get two cards into reserve at the end of turn for Kojo to go alongside the Haven, but looks like they can't quite make that work. Or it seems difficult at least.
yeah, they have a block on this side here, which they oh, okay, yeah. So they are trying to still get an advance on the hero side here, and it looks like they'll secure it. So pretty good,
Yeah,
pretty good.
too many stats, no extra. I think Beauty Sleep was the only card to really be worried about there,
Yeah.
and there was none of that. So one expedition away from winning as Kojo. But yeah, with each turn, it gets harder and harder to find that advancement. At this point, also, Genetic didn't mana a card last turn. They're now also going to be down a full mana orb going into these future turns. Yes, they have Buddha this turn, but I'm very worried for Genetic if they cannot win on this day.
Let's see. They are thinking loading up turn here. This Muna caregiver from reserve puts a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, the next card you play this afternoon costs one less. This could be a very good disciple combo here. I
Yeah,
haven't seen
it
one besides the unique.
ooh,
Ooh.
big sabotage coming out here. Will hit the Mage Dancer just because of how many stats that can provide. Also, of course, hitting a character from the Afanas is quite valuable. It's not as good as removal is, but it fills a similar function. This Afanas can easily be pressed for characters, and it now is forced to play another Mage Dancer from hand instead, which does cost just slightly more resources than it would from reserve.
Yeah, just another one coming out here. Still the caregiver now if there's a combo available. Kojo's does have more than enough time to consider thinking and playing out all of their options.
Yeah, this is a pretty tense spot because yes, Kojo has a huge lead at the moment, but as soon as Genetic stops advancing, it's going to be hard for them to start advancing again. especially since they do not have Buddha next turn, and 2 double advances are all Afanos needs in this situation. They are playing the right deck to make that kind of a comeback happen. It's going to be really close, though. Lots of unknown factors for both players. This is also something we often see is just playing cards from reserve to hide what you have in hand. And it looks like that's the approach Genetic is choosing here. Playing this Fire Rabbit on its weaker side into the Water Expedition for only a single stat point because they don't think they can beat this Katagarian Mage Dancer anyway.
Not the best place for a very interesting play a tiny Jin over there. I guess just I have no idea actually.
I
uh
mean, they probably just know they can't beat this Mage Dancer, so
yeah.
they're just using these
Set
cheap
set it up,
cards
yeah.
after you effects.
Potato. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Absolutely. I'm gonna head to the toilet quickly, baby.
All right. Ooh, a Talarian skater. That is a very good reason to have put a tiny Jin over there. Very good combo. I love when Tony Jin gets a boost not from reserve, but just straight from hand. 3 mana here. The Evanescence is not going to be playable. This caregiver is still chilling here, though. Does not have very many stats, but it does offer some stats, a body to catch boosts, and the discount. Perfect world would have been if the card you put in reserve was a disciple, but instead, Genetic takes it down. Shout out to Genetic, wonderful player, great person. I heard saved a orphanage from burning down just by themselves. So well fought to Bob Burton. Very interesting game there. I told Freeloader that he could pick the next table. I'll continue to look through here. Couldn't he return Evanescence with the unique? I think the unique was just you have to put a card from your hand into reserve to discount a card. Can I just hit back on my? No, it won't go backwards that way.
Alright, I am back, and it looks like the game ended.
It certainly did. So where would you like to go now?
Let's see. Did Genetic manage to take it? Yeah, they did. Alright, nice. GG Genetic. Let me see here. I'll quickly hit that refresh. I mean, table 5 is pretty unadvanced still, 57%.
Nice. All right. Going to that. Oh, an
Oh,
Afanos
the
mirror
Afanister.
match. Both
Yeah,
players over 500 elo.
yeah, weren't you saying that we weren't seeing a whole lot of Afanas on the top tables? I feel like it's all over the top tables at the moment.
Yeah, in the previous weeks, I don't think I had to watch as many Afanos, so I was wondering if that's what we were going to see now. I'm very glad we've seen more Afanos than Akesha. Happy that we haven't had to see her horrible little face recently. So
Uh, Cold and number one Akesha hater. I mean, this is actually still pretty interesting, though. This new Nylum Spires, I'm a huge fan of it for Afanos. I feel like it just slots into that deck so well. And I'm just a big fan of 2-cost landmarks. I think they're fairly easy to get out. And it does look like the bottom Afanos Matu does have an expedition lead, but also looks like it's potentially a very temporary lead in this game.
yeah. The other thing is we've seen them sit here for I want to say at least 2 minutes. on this decision. So once again, we're going to see a player that has half the amount of time as another player. Um, in a in-person tournament, you would not be able to sit and think for this long without getting a reminder of some sort. But on BGA, you just have to worry about if you can balance that thinking time with the total time from the clock here.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also one of those things where if all your other decisions are fast, then it's fine to take a timer at a certain crucial point and think a bit more about it. But I think what I really like about the BGA clock is that it does hold you responsible to make sure you're not constantly taking your time thinking about things and taking too much time in that sense. So it is a bit of a balancing act for sure, though. I do wonder. There was a tournament recently, right, where they did a small tournament and tried to play with time control in a real life setting as well. I believe, right?
Yeah, I think Caleb and crew did a tournament where they used chess clocks during a in-person tournament or like just show matches between friends. I did not end up watching it. I should see if there's a VOD or if they've put it on YouTube and maybe just kind of see what I can glean throughout the French. But this Ortis Cadets is a very interesting, unique. That's probably going bye bye.
Let's give it a read quickly. It's a one cost, free cost, 1/0/0. When you play a spell, if I have one or more boosts, create an Ortis recruit token in target expedition. There's actually a token spammer in Afanos, which is quite interesting. It is a worse condition than the ones we know from Sigusmar, because playing characters is Sigusmar gets to run more characters than even Afanos gets to run spells, but still a very strong effect. Let's just get removed here, of course, so not that strong in this situation. Just playing it alongside a more classic pickup spell, Spindle Harvester, is looking like quite an interesting list.
Yeah, I was looking over some of the discard from each player. The sap infusion in the reserve for Martin is not one we've seen today. Very interesting. Seems like it would be very good in Afanis. From hand, you're getting two boosts at least because of itself and Afanis. And then depending on how many counters you get, that's going to be itself plus Afanis as well.
Yeah, I actually, interestingly enough, for me, when I look at Sap Infusion, I feel like it is a very good helping hand replacement in terms of working with rare category and Mage Dancer, since it very efficiently gets the Mage Dancer to that 4/4/4 threshold or to the triple boost threshold with a single card from hand, and then from reserve, it lines up so that if you have turn one category and Mage Dancer plus Sap Infusion, you can have turn two Category and Mage Dancer plus Sap Infusion again to just draw all of the cards. But it looks like in this list there's common Category and Mage Dancers, so no need for that specific interaction, but still valuing the Sap Infusion highly enough to play it. That is quite interesting to me.
Another important question here is if you look at the Neelam spires, the curved spire in the middle does have windows on it, and seemingly they go up all the way. Would you enjoy your room being near the very tip of that spire?
Hold on, let me take a look at this. Oh, you're right. The windows are like on the bottom side of it.
Yeah,
Am I seeing that right?
your room would be a little bit sideways or upside down.
I mean, that sounds really cool, honestly. I'd be in for that. I don't know if I'd be in for walking up the stairs to get there every day. A curved spiraling staircase sounds kind of horrendous, but a curved room, I'm there for all day.
Otherwise, the gameplay of it turned out very interesting here. We saw a bunch of removal just flying back and forth to where Martin has nothing in either expedition, and Matu, uh, well, still has things in expedition, but now one's gonna go to sleep. But yeah, that moth is coming in really clutch right now to just fill that hero side.
Yeah, and this is the power of this Nylum Spires. The weakness of Afanos, potentially the only real weakness of Afanos, is removal. And Nylum Spires is a card that will consistently provide you with more and more bodies to circumvent those effects and to mitigate them, of course. And it's paid off here, giving the expedition lead back to Matu. They had an expedition lead earlier already, but was quickly regained. But now they have it back again, and not only do they have it back, they also have a character in play already. And Martin Pusho is going to play their own unique. It's a very simple, very clean unique. I love these clean uniques with very little text on them. An artist trooper with a simple arrow, draw a card, and let's see if this unique can help them take back the expeditions.
So let's see here. The Spire only needs 3 more counters. Hypothetically, very possible during this turn.
Yeah, I do wonder with Spires if in the later stages of the game it's a card you can get use out of every turn. That does seem a bit tricky at 4 counters, but maybe possible if you go really late. I'd be kind of surprised if we see a Moth come out this turn from it, though.
Yeah. Sap Infusion still just chilling here. Probably hasn't had a very good target. And here's another very clean trooper that just says from anywhere you can return a spell from your reserve to your hand.
Yeah, that's good here. Returning that removal seems to be the name of the game in this mirror matchup. Who has more removal to win it all? Artist Trooper gets put to sleep. I'm sure we're about to see the Spindle Harvester get removed from the expedition zone as well. And maybe then the other Artist Trooper will get put to sleep as well. Who knows?
Oh, it looks like
No,
a
that is
rhyme
going
for
to be
us.
prevented. What an interesting. This is a pretty funny matchup, I'm not going to lie.
They're just slapping each other over and over. Notably, we are 30 seconds until there you go. There's the other removal license withdrawal.
Nice.
We
Get
are
rid of it.
20 seconds away from Matu being negative on time.
Yeah, Matu being behind on time, ahead on expeditions, but they will need to speed it up to take this one, or potentially. We don't know, since the round end timer is always a bit of a mystery factor. I
Yes.
recently had a tournament game where we both still had a full minute left on the clock, and it actually ran out of time as well for the round timer. So that was pretty devastating for my opponent, who was 3 seconds lower on time than I was.
Yeah. I heard about that. Was it the final round of the tournament?
I believe, yeah, it was the final round that was for 5-1 as well. So it was for the invitation to
Hmm,
the finale or to final event.
yeah. I
Are
think
still early season, so I'm sure they will have more chances to get it, but definitely a bit of a backbreaker there.
yeah, I think my theory regarding that is the final round of a tournament has a very hard cap, and it's not the usual about 5 minutes buffer on the final round, which is very interesting, and I think something we just figured out in the last couple weeks.
Ah, yeah, that's interesting actually. Either way, here these extra bodies from Nylum Spires are really paying off in this match, being the primary reason for these last couple advancements and winning Matmatu the mirror match. So yeah, take a look at Common Nylum Spires and Afanos. It's a good card, as I say, as someone who has not played any Afanos yet in the new set.
Yeah, that was an interesting match, and that sap infusion just sat there in the reserve, just being sad and never used. But
Yeah, free mana from reserve. It's too clunky.
the lowest percentage table was table number 35, and we do get to see a pretty interesting matchup here.
Yep, Sierra into Golang. Golang being our new end of round hero. So once all other games have finished, settle in for some Golang gameplay. Watch these Mesectets create a ton of stats each and every turn. But in this game, not the only things creating stats, as there is double Brassbug Hive out for a Sierra that also does a lot of work.
Yeah, it looks like. So what? Wait, am I missing? Oh, it's the one mountain. Sierra takes
Yeah.
it by the one mountain on the companion side. Goreng did not have anything else to play. I keep saying it. Sierra can be very scary. I'm not quite sure why we haven't seen Sierra in the upper end of heroes yet this season. If it's not enough people are playing or there's a hard counter that I'm not aware of, but if she gets going, she can be very scary.
I mean, I actually think Sierra and Golrang are having similar issues at the moment where they're both very powerful decks and they both, I'm pretty sure, this isn't confirmed from my side yet. I definitely still need to do my testing on this, but I'm pretty sure both of those decks auto lose to Hunger because you fall behind in expeditions early to create some other kind of advantage that you want to leverage. And then there's a card that just removes it, all of your
Yeah.
advantages that you were building up, and then you're sad.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering if it was a case of if their landmarks get taken out, maybe it's just all downhill from there. Maybe some of the other decks are a little too fast for Sierra to get set up with, but it's been very interesting. I've definitely lost a game or two to a Sierra that was able to get out some brass bug hives. So
Oh yeah, definitely. It can be really scary, and they can find them quite consistently by the time they want to play them as well. Definitely a very scary deck.
all right, we are into round 5. Now is when we should be able to see some upsets. Table 3 has the potential for an upset, and we have not seen these players. Belteshazzar, from my experience playing a lot of Kojo, I think is maybe on something new, and I don't recognize Gia Komozu. Do you?
I do not either recognize them. I'm wondering maybe if Belteshazzar is on Kojo, maybe we should go to table one because I think all of the marbles is on Atsadi, and I don't know if we've seen
Ooh.
that much Atsadi yet in this tournament. Because
Uh,
we've had quite a couple of Kojo games already. But I'm all for Kojo games, but
so yeah, all of the marbles is on Fen as
oh, never
usual.
mind.
I was gonna say, did it get the? Oh, now I have an error. Um, did the all of the marbles get the win on Fen and switch over? But nope, still on Fen.
Oh, did we see
Um,
them earlier? My bad.
no, I just know all of the
Oh,
marbles.
right.
And they won Wednesday, the most previous AWOL 6-0.
Uh,
I'm having an issue loading either table. Are you loaded into a table?
I'm on both of them. That it's a Kojo mirror. It's a Fen versus Afanos. The other table I'm maybe looking at is table 5, as I do not recognize those names, but there I am not able to load in yet either.
Hmm.
Up to you.
You tell me because I have to take a quick bathroom break, so you'll be introing it.
All right, let's go to. Let me get one quick check on this. Nope. All right, let's go to the all of the marbles game then.
All
Ben
right.
versus Afanos.
Should be able to load it in. Yes. Okay.
Very nice.
My nap time is in about 2 hours, so we're still good. Thank you, Gus the bus. Uh, but my schedule's kind of flipped now because I didn't work today, and I usually have to either nap or pretend to nap or play Xbox, or else my dog will bug me to eat too early, and she's asleep right now next to me. So, but
There you go.
a Faunus versus Fen, go all of the marbles, and I will be right back.
Yeah. So quite a neat lead into this game. Couple expedition trades, but also looks like uh unless I know we're just on day two. Quite a lot of stuff in reserve already for all of the marbles. A little bit of interesting lines possible here with that discard ability from the Will-O-the-Wisp. There's a 1 mana play, they can after you, and then play out an anchored aloe vera, which tends to be very powerful. A bit risky often to play this aloe vera into a Faunus, which is why delaying it can be so important. They will go with I mean, different line, but same line, where they will use a 2 cost spell to put the Spindle Harvester to sleep. And I think then they are looking to double discard to play the aloe vera with Anchored, which is a bigger commitment, but also potentially here denies an advancement from the Afanos. Afanos is keeping 2 mana open though, so playing aloe vera here is super scary. If you get off you go, you are very far behind. They might back out here and just play this Will-O-Wisp instead. Trade expeditions with the Baba Yaga from reserve from Afanos. Call it a day. Depends how risky they want to play it. Meanwhile, from Afanos side, I think everything's just going according to plan. Turn 1, draw a card with Baba Yaga. Turn 2, draw a card or two from this magical training. So everything going according to plan there. This card advantage gameplay is super important and critical for Afana since they do want to play so many cheap cards. Yeah, and critical decision here for all of the marbles. So they are taking their time thinking about how risky they want to play it here. Yeah, nice play, as you said, Keelan guy. But it's tricky. It's tricky. These 1 costs. Turns out the way you beat cheap after you effects is by having also cheap after you effects a lot of the time. All right, that's the double discard ability. Gotta believe aloe vera is coming out after that, which will then leave us the question: does SBTFU Histe have the off you go? They do not. They do not have it. They play Baba Yaga to trade expeditions, and all the marbles will see a double resupply off the back of this aloe vera. I do like applying the pressure though from Afana side to just dare all of the marbles to play it in case they do have the off you go. Double resupply hits an Anansi and a Halfer. Halfer, a great card, especially if all of the marbles has a magical training of their own in hand. They will be able to play that quite often already with their current setup. Maybe sneak in a pretty substantially sized Anansi as well in the midst of that. Doesn't look like that's immediately what is going to be happening. Instead, playing the first unique of this game, which, believe it or not, is also just a magical training, is a studious disciple, even stats, and has the arrow draw a card. Very clean unique. And I mean, it fits the magical training gameplay, so makes a lot of sense in this deck. 2 cost being slightly pricey though. I know these Fen decks really like their 1 cost after you effects, if possible. He stay returning with a draw of their own through that magical training. Actually, it's funny that rare representing the exact same number of stats as that studious disciple unique due to that hero ability from Afanos. Acts as a slow play as well here. All of the marbles will need to consider if they want to contest the hero side at all. It just seems a bit tricky in this situation, considering you'd likely need a removal plus a body. And I mean, committing an off you go onto a one cost character just feels a bit wasteful, especially if it can just get replayed and then played alongside a spell of some kind and win that expedition anyway. Doesn't feel the best. All of the marbles will contest the hero side with this Anansi.
Oh, I have returned. Yeah, I see a lot of cards and now more cards for Afanis. This is gonna be a double move for Ben, though. It sounded like you were.
I mean,
Oh, not a double
potentially.
move. I didn't see the um Afanis boost coming out yet, so there was a block there.
Yeah, if there was
Uh
like a Martingale coming out there, that would have been a clutch double move.
yeah, it sounded like you were saying that the Fen was in a bad position, but looking at this here, looks like besides the card advantage, Fen's doing
I mean,
pretty decent.
Fen had a really risky choice on day two, where they played a Twinkle Twinkle from hand and then had to commit to a double discard to play Aloe Vera into two open mana from Afanos, right? But Afanos did not have the removal to punish that play, so that helped a lot. And then I do think now, yes, all of the marbles does have an expedition lead, but I don't know if they are favored in this position, considering just how many cards Afanos has access to right now.
Yeah. The sole reason that they are favored in this position is because it is all of the marbles.
That's a pretty good reason, honestly. But he's still doing their best to overcome the all of the marbles gap, sabotaging one paper at one studious disciple unique, and then license withdrawing the second that gets played immediately. Of the marbles does return their sleight of hand from reserve to hand off of that. But still, these uniques getting discarded will be quite harsh for them. They don't have any characters in play and just shuffled a cloth cocoon into their reserve, which doesn't have a target at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what we're gonna see here. Okay, the Hathor just being played out, knowing that there's probably nothing that the Afanis can do to stop, yeah, or advance there. So still a pretty good play with the Hathor. Um,
Mhm.
for those that don't know the legend of all the marbles, recently went 6-0 in a AWOL tournament, and at PAX East won I think like 4 giant cards. So that means taking first in 4 events, about 1 to 2 every day. So very good
Yeah,
player.
all of the marbles is crushing the American scene. Absolutely. And they have the expedition lead in this game as well, but now facing down some very cheap characters from Histe.
I'm looking up here real quick to see if we have any potential to beat the highest view viewer count on a stream.
Ooh, what's
Um
the record at?
well, the peak would be the demo deck tournament, which was, oh wait, no. says that our peak on the first Monday of this season was 70. How the
Oh,
heck did we get to 70?
damn,
Uh,
70 is pretty high. But you didn't get over 70 on the demo deck? I thought for sure. No, you were over 100 on the demo deck.
yeah, I just have to switch to 90 last 90 days because it was not in the
Um,
last 28. But the second highest is 46, and we're currently at 43. So make sure to send this stream to all of your grandmas. I know they want to listen to some altered content, and we can beat another peak.
huge. Shout out to the grandmas.
Shout out to the grandmas.
Yeah, these grandmas will love seeing this Fen into Afanos gameplay. Currently, the grandpa is ahead in card advantage, but down in Expedition. Really needs to crank it to get going again. And I mean, what's good here for all of the marbles, and they're making an excellent showcase of how to play this Fen into these very powerful heroes, is they're just using the power of after magical training, pick up magical training to force the opponent to play out all of their cards and then see how they can trade or even double advance into that setup. At the moment, they don't even need to double advance. They already have an expedition lead. So I'm guessing we'll just see them take the companion side advancement kind of for free and continue playing the game. Just turn by turn, grinding it out.
I'll let you read that comment in chat there. But yeah, once again, the well placed Tanuki is going to come out, get a sabotage, get just one other move for Fen. And if it continues this way, the Fen will win. But getting higher in mana, getting more things allowed in the reserve, might see some more interesting things coming out here.
Mhm. Why are you so worried about reading out a comment like hitting like makes you a better person, Cole Robbie?
Yeah, what about the
Yeah.
one right above that?
Uh, that's also considering that there was a French stream with 200 plus for a demo deck. No, that
Yeah,
one.
I see, I see. If you are interested in the peaks, the demo deck tournament did hit about 108. The AWOL season invitational 2 did hit about 118. So
Mm.
yeah, as Keelan Guy mentioned, the demo deck tournament was streamed in both French and English, so the viewership was a little split. But for regular season games, the record right now is 70. I don't know how that happened, but we'll be happy with over 46 today, and Freeloader and I will be able to go home happy to our partners and get high fives.
Yeah, yeah. Both of us will go home to all of our partners and get high fives.
Yep.
Oh God, it's cooked. Either way, I'll let you know. I'm happy either way, whether we hit the 46 or not. And back to the game, it is getting close. I mean, it's really interesting. All of the marbles on that expedition lead has such a simple game plan and has some really good tools to execute on it. But with so many cards in hand, Afanos can just set up such a difficult board to overcome. All the marbles playing out a Tanuki unique with the Arrow Sabotage. It's free cost, free stats, and it also has from hand. The next spell you play this afternoon costs one less, which is functions as a very cheap unique in that sense, which they will be able to use in combination with this magical training. But can they overcome the stats in play at the moment without giving up an expedition?
Looking harder and harder, but I think how all of the marbles has been playing Fen, and maybe how a lot of Fen players play, is playing around your opponent and then taking your expedition at the last possible moment. Right now, it's probably going to be very hard to take either with what Afanos has set up, but maybe nope. We just see card draw and the Afanos taking a double advance here, which will now put them decisively in the lead in all ways.
Yeah, it gives them the expedition lead. They still have a ton of cards to work with as well. The one advantage all of the marbles they get out of this was that they have their Tanuki in play, and it is blocking very efficiently on that companion side, both of its stat points being relevant. It's still going to be tough here to stop any advancement happening from Afanos that has access to 9 mana and 7 cards. And yes, all of the marbles also has a ton of resources here, and a big resupply in this Anansi will be very good amounts of stats at a later point in this turn. They managed to fill up that reserve, especially a little bit. But still, these two decks are playing the same game after you, after you, after you. Let's see who can do it better.
Nancy goes hard here. There's just I don't know if this list has been changed at all since we last saw it. One of the other things that could be really interesting from all of the marbles would be a Willow the Wisp at the last minute on the companion side. Um, Especially because this Spindle Harvester is more weighted to forest and the Tanuki is already chilling there. But we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I have a feeling Will-O-Wisp would be a little bit too expensive here in this situation. And man, this second Beauty Sleep is going to make this really tough. Only 5 mana left for all of the marbles to find an answer to the setup. Katagarin Mage Dancer is going to be nigh impossible to beat out on stats, which is why this Requiem, though, is super crucial. Getting rid of the threat immediately. Still, you have 3 mana to answer to this Afanos. You probably want to get that
Ooh.
Anansi play in there at some point, but there's at least one more. Oh, wait, this unique picks up 2 cards.
Oh, that's disgusting. Had to pay 1 mana for the second one, but still. That's
I mean, that means there's 2 Beauty Sleeps that can
yep.
still be played.
Yep.
That's going to be nigh impossible to out after you, since those are both 1 cost cards as well.
Yeah, the oh nope, just gonna take it.
Yeah, there's
Saw the
just
writing on the
nothing to be
wall.
done.
Yeah.
If all of the marbles had some discard discount abilities, maybe there was a way to solve the puzzle here, but with double Beauty Sleep in hand, it's just too tough, and there will be another double advance here for Histe, and they'll take the game.
Yep. All of the marbles as nice as ever. I can just tell from the GG exclamation point it was meant in kind. The only real line there was maybe play an acapella training to call out one beauty sleep, but it was already going to be there on your ink caster, and then there was still one more in hand, and can't whittle your mana down too much without playing another body to advance. So yeah, well played to Histe. I think that is the first undefeated player that we've seen so far. Looks like the Belteshazzar game finished and is still undefeated. Matu took down Popeye and is undefeated. And Genetic took down Easy Lopez and now is undefeated. We have the chance, I think, for. Is there possibly one more undefeated, or should it only be four going into this next round?
I think 4 is all we get. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And I think we've also seen all of these players except for Belteshazzar already. So we should probably take a look at their game for the final round.
Sounds good. For now, table 19 is 43% finished. We have seen Tackfire, but we have not checked in to see if Overloss is playing Gulrang. And of course, Overloss is playing Gulrang. Seemingly staying pretty well in line with this Afanos from Tackfire
Yeah,
for now.
they are very much in line. There is a bit of an awkward goal rank situation happening though, where you have these Mesectets out, but you're actually so far ahead on this hero side that you aren't going to be getting tokens there unless this game goes to arena, which I mean it increases the likelihood of that by a lot. We might see a very linear game ahead of us where both players are just accepting the trade as it happens. Maybe Tackfire, and I mean, I assume Tackfire might try a timing to get a double advance in and swoop the game away. We'll have to see to find out. Slow played coming out. Actually,
Just
somewhat
more
surprised
low
to see the
cost.
Ortis attorney committed to the companion side.
Yeah, interesting. Just wanting the stats straight up or yeah, gonna sleep it. Would be sad to sleep the Tooth Fairy, right? Guess not.
I guess they're going with it.
Yeah. Trying to just lock it out as quickly as possible. So you mentioned Mescatet in tiebreaker. Do you think that Mescatet should receive an errata of some sort to where it does not put out that many tokens in the arena, or do you think it is not too strong as is?
No, I think the card is perfectly designed, honestly, because I think what we saw in the first couple sets of this game is a bunch of decks that made sure the game was over by turn 5, pretty much. Like all the competitive decks up to Trial by Frost were working that way. Now with Whispers of the Maze, all of a sudden we have the Atsadi deck and Golang deck that will very frequently not advance at all and actively look for these longer games. And I think it's very healthy for the game because it really forces you to think about what your deck wants to do, what your deck, how your deck wants to deal with a variety of matchups. And I think it's very healthy for the game. Yes, Mesectet is a very strong card, but I don't even think it's too strong. It can easily be, or not easily, but it can be overcome in terms of stats. And there are a lot of counters to it as well in the form of cards like License Disintegration or the Hunger. So I don't think Mesectet needs a change at all from my perspective. I mean, we haven't even seen a goal rank 6-0 a tournament yet. I don't
Yeah.
think they deserve to be hurt yet.
Yeah, I would agree. I just saw some people mentioning how they consider it a little unfair. But the amount of games where you probably see a setup like this last into arena and then also still be enough to like give a very decisive lead in the arena is probably so very few. And there's certain things in the game that if you're up against them at a certain point, they might feel too strong. But when you look at them overall, a lot of things are easy to see how it's not that strong in the end. But
Yeah, and I mean, strong cards are just part of the game. Like every hero needs strong cards. I really believe in Altered. Every viable hero has a card like Aloe Vera, like Katagarian Mage Dancer, like Ouroboros Incaster, like Magical Training, like Tinyjin, like Mightyjin, like Haven. There's so many cards that are like S plus plus tier, and without them, you are not a competitive deck in Altered. So, Golrang also needs an S plus tier card, and maybe Mesectet can be that for them. You know? I don't think you can take that away from them. It's that'd be rough. You know, Golang hasn't seen any play for 2 sets outside of Overloss. And you just want to immediately take away the one thing they got. That would be rough.
Yeah, there you go. Just learn ways around it, and it'll all be okay. As Gus has mentioned in the chat, though, this Afanis is getting very low on time. I do wonder. I think a lot of players hyper focus in on the game and don't really look over at the clock. Or I think if you're playing in full screen, it removes the clock. I'm very interested in which one it is more often for players. But yeah, there's about 3 minutes left in this game now, unless the table was created a little late or the end of the round comes up. So definitely watch your clock because right now, even if this Afanis is able to start overcoming this Golang token creation, did I win on time? No, you have to finish the game over loss.
Haven't won
Uh,
on time yet. Could happen. As is, it's another trade on expeditions, and it does keep the game going. There are, I mean, they're probably not quite close to time yet, considering Overall still has 4 minutes on their time as well. They could, of course, run it down, but I'm guessing we're still a minute or two at least away from a round match ending.
yep. Have you listened to my math spiel on the clock and does it make sense or does it just seem like numbers flying around whenever I say it?
Oh no, I've listened to it. I think it makes sense. It's a bit weird. Like there's a couple factors going into it, right? With when the game started
Mhm.
and then there's like a game timer, there's a round timer, there's some other timer maybe as well. So it's definitely a little convoluted and you can't
Yeah.
figure out exactly how much time you have left. But in essence, the more time goes on, the higher the chance of the game ending.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. That is basically exactly how it is. It's not a perfect science, but I think the 5 minute buffer is proven to be pretty consistent outside of the end of tournament time. I've watched it very closely a couple times and been able to block it when it happens. So yeah, we're very close to the end here. And
Wow, that's so many tokens created by this or this overseer.
yeah, so it's create one Ortis recruit token in my expedition per bureaucrat you control. And if your companion expedition is behind, sabotage. Otherwise, you may exhaust target card in reserve.
And it does look like we are headed to the arena, where Overloss will start their turn with a total of 888 in stats. But they did just get off you goad, so they don't draw a card from this Ortis Attorney, and will instead have to only rely on the 2 cards in their reserve and the 2 cards in their hand for this final arena turn. Or, of course, Overloss can also rely on the timer.
Yep, there's about 40 seconds.
Oh, 40
Less,
seconds, call has been made.
yeah, less than that, really, if it's more concise, but we'll see.
Yeah, and what's nice for Golang is that into the Afanos, these tokens, they dodge removal quite well. It's just not very efficient to off-you-go these things. No, Tackfire definitely has ways to to outstat these tokens, but can they also outstat what's coming behind?
I think Overloss might be taking some of that time back so they can get their thinking time put in here.
Yeah, understandable, honestly. But no, they do go with a play. 4 cost, draw a card, 2 counters. It's not a great Silas, but it does do something at least. Keeps them ahead on stats. Drawing a card can be nice. There are some really, really good cards that you can draw in Golang that create tons of recruits, as we did just see last turn in the form of the Ordis Overseer. They might also just be looking for removal options of their own to interact with the Afanos here.
Yeah, this is I think timer wise, this is one of the situations where it is a little off. But we, or maybe I did my math terribly. Maybe there's 1 minute left. You're doing like negative maths. I'm wondering. There
Ooh,
it
there you
is.
go. Wasn't that far off.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm wondering if the easier calculation is to take both clocks and whether they're negative or positive, just add them together. So if we add these to, no, it doesn't work that way, I don't think. Because that's only 3 minutes and 8 seconds over. Anyways, I'll figure out a formula.
Yeah, you figure it out. Either way, yeah, I do wonder who would have come out ahead here. I think there's a good chance Tackfire could have made the stats to compete here, but we will never know as we are headed into the final round. Which table did we say we wanted to watch? It was Belteshazzar, right?
Yeah, Belteshazzar is the only one of these four that we have not watched yet. So we'll load into that. Maybe it'll be a quick game and then we can catch some of the other one.
Yes, let's do that. All right. Still not in the game for me.
Same.
Wow, Belteshazzar at undefeated, but only with 11 opponent points. I am sure some of their early opponents dodged, which is ironically means they often have a harder run, as the people that DQ are often some of the better players if they lose early.
Yeah.
So, what will we have? We have in the undefeated bracket, because that's also always interesting to watch. I think we have Afanos versus Kojo, and then what was Matu on? Because Genetic was also on Kojo.
Yeah, let's see. So in Matmatu, dang, come on, can't even see.
Oh, we have two Afanos into Kojo matchups, I think.
Nice. Yep, I'm still on the error for now.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Start the game.
Tackfire could have clicked the kick player, but all Overloss would have had to do was play a card, and it would have been fine if Overloss went into the negative.
E.
All right, can Kojo find a way to get a double move here?
All right, I'm in.
Nope.
Very nice.
Just one for one, avoiding each other. Um, I believe it was either you or Rune or maybe both that said you should never avoid each other. You should always try to block and stall. Sounds more like Rune Folk, so maybe it was Rune Folk.
In what, like in this matchup from the Afana side, or what?
Just in general, how most often players will take like a one for one in the opening instead of playing on the same side to block and extend the game.
I mean, that's very deck dependent, right? If you're playing hostage, then yeah, all you want to do is stall. If you're playing Kojo into Afanos, you definitely are looking to trade since you are just wanting to get your advancements in and get an early expedition lead so you actually have a way of winning. Because if you're at equity in the later stages of the game and the Afanos has access to the cards that they usually have, then you get cooked quite quickly often. And
Right.
actually, we'll see the opposite happen. Afanos taking an early expedition lead, having really nice stats into this Buddha token. Both Baba Yaga and their Monofligate seem to be playing into it quite nicely. Sleeping the Haven, also quite a nice move, just to deny that card draw for a little bit and get secure that expedition lead. At least though for Kojo, they did get a mess out, so they have a bit of setup for their game as well.
Yeah. This deck we have not seen, so this shouldn't guaranteed have a hunger. Would be very interesting if it did, though. Yeah, that monolith legate picking back up the beauty sleep is going to be pretty hard to play around, as we saw in a previous match. Picking up beauty sleep very strong. Ooh, there we go. Won't be able to do it a second time though, at least.
That is true. That is a nice sabotage. Always feels good when you can snipe a unique with a sabotage effect. Now, it does look like there will still be a trade of expeditions. Actually, there's ways here for Afanos to even double advance. So if there is something still here for Kojo, such as this Tiny Jin, they are quite incentivized to play it, as they do. And now, how will Afanos try and lock this up? Actually, real interesting card here, the Pasiphae common coming out.
Yeah, I'm also a hater of Pasiphae, but in this specific situation, it actually worked really beneficial for 2 mana to get a 3/3/3. I've spectated plenty of games where the Pasiphae is less than or equal to 2/2/2. So I mean, it is a body for a faunus, so maybe that's like its one home, but
Oh, did I lose you?
I don't know. I hear you. Do you hear me? Yep. What did you what I think you gave Pasiphae like a 2 or a 1. What did you what how many stars?
I know I rated both of the rares at 1 star, I'm pretty sure. Just because I don't think you can give up a rare slot for like a counter card effect like that to counter a specific part of the metagame. But I think the common must have been at least a 2 star card, maybe even 3 star. But I likely think maybe 2 star because I think I thought Sigusmar wouldn't be a great deck, and then there's just not quite enough justification to running it in my mind. Who knows? I can, of course, be wrong. I am really, of course, I'm really insanely good at this game, of course.
Mhm.
But even I sometimes make not mistakes, but um, loose calculation.
Miscalculations.
No, no, not miscalculation, but like loose calculations.
Yeah,
A
you
little bit
sometimes
of
spill your coffee on your napkin math.
exactly, exactly. You got me.
Keelan Guy says that Pasiphae is excellent, so that is confirmed here. It is a bad card. If a retiree would play it, maybe you should think about switching it.
To be fair, Gramps would know more about Afanos than I do, so checks out.
True, true, true. You're talking about Froloader, your older brother. Yeah, he is really good. Froloader.
I've heard of that guy. But yeah, for
Mhm.
those of you that don't know, Keelan Guy is my older brother for sure, for real. No cap. 360. So they just have better opinions on old people than I do. It is what it is. Can't deny it. As we see in this game, though, Kojo gunning for a double advance now can easily be denied by this beauty sleep in reserve. However, Afanas is actually running low on cards here.
Yeah.
So although they have an early expedition lead, this is kind of the opposite of what we usually see in this matchup. Usually I see an Afanas trying to build up a card of a hand size of like 6 or 7 or 8 while they're giving up an expedition lead, and Kojo's just trying to end the game as fast as possible. This game is quite the opposite. Afana's super low on cards, and Kojo actually having a lot of scaling in the form of mana ramp in play.
Interesting to sleep. Just yeah, denying the advance by sleeping the Pathfinder. It is going to allow Tony Jin to increase that mana, and then still have to worry about these two posted up in the hero expedition. But sleeping a Buddha is also not super great. Did both of them move? Yeah, so Belteshazzar moved the companion expedition and he stay the hero. Um in the chat, uh going off about commons and such. Let me know if you need any specific commons. Elon guy, I got you as well. I thought Tony was the Muna version. Hmm, good idea. I'm gonna errata it to be that.
Wow, that
Hmm.
was that was not what I expected there. For some reason, that was really funny to me. Alright, Tony is only Muna version of Tiny Jin. Fair enough, fair enough.
Yep.
I do like what the Afanos did last turn with their sleep targets, as they can now threaten the hero expedition with 4 stats, where these slept characters from Kojo's side don't do a whole lot to stop that advancement. So if Afanos is looking for kind of a tempo victory in this game, they absolutely can go for it. First off, though, they should try and compete on this companion side, lest Belteshazzar finds a double advance.
Ooh, that Daedalus is going to roll high enough to get a double boost. Ooh, and come right back out, possibly. Or yeah, the Mighty Jin a good choice. Don't want to overload your reserve too much, and already going to happen here. So I'm assuming the Pathfinder will be dumped. There was something I was
I
gonna
mean,
comment
Pathfinder
on
has good
anyway.
expeditions, though. What does this unique do? When I leave the expedition zone, sabotage.
Yeah,
Yeah, that unique made Histe stop playing cards entirely, actually, as they did not want to be sabotaged, and gave Belteshazzar that double advance for free, pretty much. Now they got to ramp off their Mighty Jin as well. They have a crazy good setup for Belteshazzar here.
yeah. Is this actually a hunger deck after all? What else would you be ramping to in Kojo these days? I feel like Kaibara is a little out of fashion,
I
but
mean, I don't think you need to ramp towards anything. Nowadays, Kojo has a good card advantage. You can just play cheap cards with
true.
more mana and just have more after you effects and play your game. If you are ramping to something, it probably is that hunger. But I can tell you that's not the case. I know it is the case in this deck. There are 2 hungers for Belteshazzar that could sneakily come out at any moment.
Ooh, you deck scouting, huh?
Hell yeah. I have 2 screens, I might as well use them.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna run both Tiny Jin and Mighty Jin, you gotta be gunning for something. But mm, yeah, yeah, I would say you probably gotta. Does I don't think Simon's 12 drop Kojo plays both, does it? I actually have not
I mean,
looked at the deck
I'm pretty sure every Kojo or every Bravos list for that matter is playing Tinyjin,
list.
and then I think a lot of them are still running Mightyjin, even the 12 1-cost versions. The thing about Mightyjin is it also draws you a card, so
Yeah,
you're not really losing out any tempo with it. As
nice.
is, there is a GG coming out here, Duel of Grit. The full discard on it is brutal for Afanas. They just don't have the characters to fight here. No early card advantage. will make this game a little bit of a slaughter despite the early expedition lead for Afanos. They cannot keep up in this mid game. And Belteshazzar will take it and go undefeated on this Monday AWOL. A bit of a American snipe of the EU tournament. That's the other way around than we usually see it.
Yep. The Americans are coming out strong until we're all bombed. But we have this other game. Since that game did finish quickly, we see another Kojo versus Afanos. And the
Yeah,
Kojo is winning this one too.
we can pretend that it's the same game. I'm not sure if Kojo is also winning this one, as there are in this one. This is the setup that I'm usually a bit more worried about for Kojo. There are a ton of cards in hand and reserve for Afanos. They are sleeping in Mighty Jin. Oh, it's so painful. And because of that sleep, they will be able to find a double advance here. They discard the unique for a Ordis token on the hero side, and they can even fully block the advancement while drawing another card with magical training on the companion side, putting them at an expedition lead and massive card advantage lead as well. Oh, hold on. This Ordis Cadet's had a different discard ability than I thought it had. It returns a spell, but it has the same net effect of getting a double advance and getting more card advantage as well.
Yep. When we tabbed in, technically Kojo was in the lead, but now very much not so. And another game where we see Afanis pick up a beauty sleep. Um, I'm wondering, we didn't really get to see it, but I wonder if beauty sleep is not as crushing against some Mortis decks if they're running the rallying call. Very, very good counter. I think the only counter I could think of, really.
Sorry, come again. I was laughing off to the side.
I think the only decent counter right now to all of these beauty sleeps that we keep seeing is the rallying call, and that only helps Mortis. So
Yeah, I mean, technically you could run it in Lyra, I guess, to give your characters anchored, but then they are just getting likely beauty sleeped again by that same beauty sleep, so not as effective. Yeah, it's a really strong card, and I think as Afanos has slowly been losing tools like Helping Hand, they've been relying on this beauty sleep more and more to formulate their game plan fully around that. Similar to how originally Afanos decks were built around a small step giant leap, I feel like now they're just built around that beauty sleep.
yeah, it's been probably the MVP of all the games that we've watched, I would say.
Yeah, I mean it's coming out every single game. It's creating that uneven texture that Afanos wants to abuse to try and find an expedition lead at some point in the game. The utility of being able to sleep your own characters is also really good, right? So it's a really, really powerful card, and the fact that, unlike in its home faction Muna, there are a ton of ways for Afanas to pick up the Beauty Sleep is what makes it truly powerful in this class.
Yeah, we let's see. How that hero side might be really hard to contest. What do we ooh, dang. One short though. You may
Yeah, that's not the
discard
resupply you want to see here.
hmm, I don't know if you give the boosts though. Huh, they're
Sorry, I have
gonna
to
do
read
it.
it. The boost effect is from hand. You may discard one of your mana orbs. If you do, target character in your other expedition gains 2 boosts. Okay, so it will. I mean, all it really does is secure the hero side while also forcing Afanas to play another spell to secure the companion side. The thing is, Afanas has an expedition lead, so they're very happy to just trade here.
Yep. Perfect world right now is for a Faunus to play a moth to a flame or a magical training, boost the Tooth Fairy one, and then hopefully have another one cost spell in hand. And that would, if it was Beauty Sleep, that would do very good for Afanos. I also think in genetics shoes, I would have boosted the Tracer. Mighty Jin is just a very good target for that sleep, but I am a much worse player than genetics, so
I mean, in this case, if Mighty Jin gets slept, they are still trading expeditions, so it would be kind of better for Genetic to put stats onto the Mighty Jin. I think Mighty Jin's just worried that if they have, actually, if Tracer gets slept, if they had put the boosts on there would be 0 water stat points for Mighty Jin
Mm,
to defend the expedition, and they would be giving over a double advance again to Matmatu.
good true facts. Here in the table, we have to look over all sorts of things, and looking at which expeditions are there is also very good.
Yeah, looking strong. There's that second beauty sleep. Kind of surprised to see it beauty sleep that unique, but it also makes sense as keeping it out of the reserve will deny the resupply effect and will make this Kojo potentially be very short on resources for their next turn. At the end of the day, Matmatsu does not care if Genetic will advance on the companion side next turn as long as they can secure the hero side.
Yep. Cutting off a bunch of resources. It does make it so Genetic does not have to choose between the Sarengar, the Unique, and this Mana Eruption. Looking through Genetics, discard 2 Tooth Fairies are down. A Tooth Fairy would be very good right now. Otherwise, that Mana Eruption is a little scary, but I mean, Kojo only has 8 mana, so and 2 other cards in hand.
Yeah, I mean, they likely have enough mana to play everything they have, but yeah, they do need to find a target. They don't have access to that many after you effects, no matter what they have in that. Well, unless they have a card draw, I guess, like Haven. Um, but likely Afanos can just out after you what Kojo's doing. And actually, really interesting play here. The Hunger comes out, will eat both their own cards and the reserve Afanos, but it's kind of a concession play since Afanos can just play anything onto this companion side and win unless there are no characters for Matmatu at all. Yeah, and there's the disciple. So one game will be taken by Kojo for undefeated matches, and the other by Afanos. Maybe this is the meta as we are going to be looking forward into Whispers from the Maze. What do you think?
Yeah, I think everything we said before the show was still the meta as we were going into it, but I think today specifically and how many honest players we should see near the top, it's starting to shift back towards the old man again in some favors. Um, I don't know who else comes out like second best quite yet, but table 23 does still have some life in it, and we've seen. Oh, never mind. Looks like Bob Burton was able to take the win.
Yeah, it looks
Uh,
like Bob Burton just hungered Pandy Andy on Golang. Very unfortunate for Pandy. We mentioned it before how Golang really struggles into hunger, and the humor of maybe playing a hunger in an Afanos deck.
Yep, there we go. GG's to Bob Burton. Every other game is close to the end, so we'll start doing our closing messages. I believe that should be our players that are 6-0. We have Matu, 6-0, and Belteshazzar 6-0. So one Afanos and Senka, and then one Kojo. But yeah, we saw a lot of good Afanos and one really good Kojo, maybe two. What did today show you, freeloader?
I mean, I am definitely seeing that early into the season. I think Bravos and Yzmir, and specifically in Yzmir Afanas, are looking like the big decks to beat. I think me, much like a couple of others, and you included in this, are kind of surprised that Fen isn't consistently showing up, kind
Hmm.
of crushing tournaments, because Fen is, in my head, really strong, but doesn't seem to be able to convert on that quite. Meanwhile, a lot of these new heroes, Atsadi, Golang, and some others maybe as well. Maybe now Tasia is in that camp as well, where it's not really a new hero in the meta, but they have some very powerful strategies, but they aren't quite being able to come out on top. So probably either those decks need to be worked on a little bit more, need to be figured out how to play it into the meta, or they're just not quite cutting it as things stand right now. I'm very curious to see how that will be looking going forward. But yeah, definitely look out for Kojo and Afanos.
Yeah. So what would you say to anyone who thinks Ysmir was the loser of Whispers from the Maze? Do you think that there wasn't enough new tools, and it's always just Ysmir staying consistent, or do you think there are some new things that have them rising to the top once again?
I mean, I think for non-Afanos decks, getting hunger is pretty huge for a Kesha, and there are some nice tools in Whispers from the Maze. However, for the main strong deck list we're seeing, I do think those are largely still beyond the gates decks, pretty much. And Afana specifically just has such a strong hero ability, and they already have access to so many one-cost spells that that deck will kind of be forever good, in my opinion, unless something fundamentally changes about that hero or about their card pool. Yeah, that is the way I'm seeing it. Definitely, maybe Afanos, or maybe not Afanos specifically, maybe Ysmir was the loser of Whispers from the Maze, but they are certainly not the loser in Altered.
Well put, well put. Looking at some of the other games and players that went into the 5-1 section, looks like a pretty good mix of your usual got a Kojo, Sigusmar, Kojo. So we might have just missed some of the well performing Kojos, but once the 39 cards listing is up, we'll be able to kind of see it there all in a row. Looks like Kojo did do very well today. And if you are tuning in to this as a VOD or just joining up at the very end for some reason, first, you missed it. And second, remember to subscribe. I don't know if saying subscribe on a live stream lights up the button, but sometimes if I say subscribe in a video when you're watching it, it will light up the button. So let me know if it did.
Let's get the editor in on that. Hey?
Yeah. So I'm just seeing here if we have the final results. Do we have a table? I mean, we do have a couple tables holding us out, but they're so close to the edge there. Um, See if there's anything worth taking a look at.
I mean, we could take a quick peek at Caballo's game because I think that is still for that for that. Is it 4-2 or 5-1 even? I'm not 100% sure. They might be. Yeah, I think they are playing for 5-1 even. So let's
Yep.
take a quick look at the ending of that one.
Yep. This one, out of all of the ones as well that still had a percentage, looks like it has the most game left in it. The other, when I clicked into it, was finished, and then the third was in arena. halfway through. So
Yeah, in this game, it's Sigusmar versus Afanos, and it is looking like Caballo on the Sigusmar is going to try and deny a double advance from Fab 44, but won't make it easy here since that exhaust will limit the number of plays Caballo has access to, and this Sandman doesn't have the flexible stats to be played on the hero side at all. It wouldn't be providing anything on that side of things.
yeah, it is looking pretty cooked from what we see from the Sigismar after the exhaust of the Crier. Maybe putting out the Sandman, even though it's just stats without anything, is a misdirect. Maybe there's something really good in hand, but what is this French here? Non il aura après vous. I'm guessing they don't have anything for after use, something
I'm
like that.
guessing that is the tricky part for them here. They don't have enough after you effects, which might indicate they have a removal of some kind in their hand. Not 100% sure, but actually, if they have a removal, they're in a as good position as they can be, I think, given the situation. They can remove this Moth and hope for a one-for-one trade, but 8 mana on Afanos is a ton. So the only thing holding Afanos back here is the cards they have to play, and they only have 3 of them, but looks like 3 is all they need, potentially.
Yep, and there comes the GG from Caballo, putting up a ton of stats with some more moths. And the last card from Siggy is just a little trooper. And look at the scared look on their face going up against this off ego that's just going to snipe the Sandman standing next to
Wait,
them.
you're right, I've never looked at the Ortus Trooper art that closely. That Ortus Trooper is terrified.
You know, just a brand new recruit, maybe not necessarily a recruit, but close enough. And GG's to another Afanis. Yeah, I would be honestly surprised if someone were to run the hero numbers and tell us that Afanis wasn't more highly represented in the like 4 and 2 or better of this tournament than previous weeks. It could just be, when you have 120 players, that's 64 tables basically.
Mhm.
Could be that, you just have a bias of tables that you click into and you see a lot. Um, Seems like he was out more enforced than usual though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Afanas is still going to be very strong. No question to me about that. I think with that, that was the final game. So the tournament is wrapped up.
Yes, let me refresh here. It is done. Congrats to I'll just read our top 8 and you can see the rest on 39 cards. But Matmatu, Belteshazzar, Genetic, Top Eye, Iste, Zeus, Gia Komozu, which I think is definitely a newer entry, at least as far as we're aware. So good job. Zobalut, that is your top 8. Thank you, Freeloader, for joining me here today on a Monday for your first AWOL cast. Any last words before we take you to the shed and never let you cast again?
Absolutely. I'll get some last words in there. First of all, thanks for having me. It was a blast, and I'm looking forward to maybe sneak in on an illegal cast here or there without Cole knowing about it. Otherwise, for those of you that enjoyed my casting, I cast the NUC every Wednesday over on my channel on Twitch. And then I also often join in for one of Pandy Andy's streams for the AQZ tournaments. So make sure you play in those and watch those streams as well. Otherwise, play Altered. It's a great game. It's super fun. Play the tournaments. They're very fun. We have a really sick community. No sick, I mean cool, not bad. So yeah, I think that's all from my side. Great game. Keep it up.
Yep. Wonderful tournament. My only thing is if you are watching this and you are scared or unsure of joining a tournament on BGA, I would say just do it. It's a really great way to learn more about the game, kind of see what's out there. And worst case scenario, you can drop if you are losing more than you would love to, and it's free. So definitely a good way to get in the game and force all of your friends to play Altered as well. So I think that will do it from us. And thank you all for watching. See you on Wednesday.
Farewell, everybody.